You did good, Jimmy. Raising a child that wasn't yours? That takes a real man. The words didn't register at first. I laughed along with the others at the wedding, raising my glass, thinking Uncle Rick was just being drunk and sentimental. My daughter Emma had just finished her first dance, beaming in her white gown, looking like the light of my life, because that's what she always was. But then Rick's words echoed again in my head, slicing through the noise like a razor. A child that wasn't yours. My smile faltered. I stared at Rick. He didn't even notice. He clinked his glass with my wife, Jennifer, and then wandered off toward the open bar, already half-blitzed. I turned to Jennifer. She avoided my eyes. That was my first red flag. She always had a quick smile, a sarcastic wink, some smug comment about Rick being an idiot. Not this time. Her face was stiff, pale. Did you hear what he said? I asked. She laughed nervously. He's drunk, babe. Ignore him. But she still wouldn't look at me. I should have let it go. Should have enjoyed my daughter's big day and drowned the doubt in champagne. But something in me, some primal, icy chill, started curling around my spine. I couldn't shake it. 5 years. 2 jobs. Sleepless nights, no vacations, every damn penny to make this wedding perfect. And now a voice inside me whispered, "You don't even know if she's yours." I stood there in that sea of smiling faces, and I felt alone. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I sat at the kitchen table, my hands clenched around a mug of cold coffee. Jennifer breezed in like nothing happened, humming, hair still curled from the night before. "You okay?" she asked. Yeah, I lied. But I watched her closely. Noticed the way her smile twitched. The way she avoided looking directly at me again. I thought about every weird thing from the past year. Her staying late, at work, the gym sessions that came out of nowhere, the way she locked her phone like it held the nuclear codes. I bought a DNA test that afternoon. And while she was out, I found Emma's old hairbrush in her drawer. It still had strands of hair in it. I don't know what I was hoping for. Maybe I wanted to prove Rick was just a drunk fool. Maybe I needed something to kill the voice in my head before it drove me insane. 2 weeks later, I got the results. 0% probability of paternity. I sat there staring at the page, feeling like someone had yanked the floor out from under me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat. My mind shut off like a power outage. Everything inside me broke in total silence. Emma wasn't my daughter. Not biologically. And Jennifer had been lying to me every single day for 22 years. The rage didn't come right away. First came the guilt. Had I missed something? Had I been blind? Was I just a fool who spent years working like a dog for a woman who laughed behind my back? The next day, I went through her laptop while she was in the shower. I wish I hadn't. There was a folder. Hidden, but not too well. Inside were photos. Messages. Emails. Not just one man, too. One of them was her old high school boyfriend, Travis. The other? Her stepfather. My goddamn father-in-law. I nearly threw up. There were photos from years ago. One of them dated 9 months before Emma was born. She was 19. He was in his 40s. This wasn't just betrayal, it was sick. Twisted. And she let me raise that child. She watched me cry when Emma was born. She let me name her after my mother. She stood by me when my mom died, helped me while I wept, and all along, she was carrying his child. That night, I didn't confront her. I waited. I needed a plan. To burn her down in a way she'd never recover from. Calculated revenge. Not just for me, but for every lie, every fake kiss, every late night she moaned someone else's name while I was asleep next to her. You see, Jennifer didn't just betray me. She played me. And now it was my turn. I watched her brush her hair that morning, humming like always, like the world hadn't tilted off its axis. Jennifer, my wife, the mother of a child that wasn't mine, stood in front of the mirror wearing the same silk robe she wore on our honeymoon. And for the first time, I didn't see the woman I married. I saw a stranger wrapped in lies. "Want eggs or toast?" she asked, her voice light, almost too light. "Toast's fine," I said, forcing a smile. "Thanks, babe." Babe. It tasted like ash. While she cooked, I memorized the way she moved. Calm. Collected. The same ease she probably had when sneaking off to Travis or her stepfather. I wondered how she could live with herself. I wondered how long she practiced the act, looking me in the eye, pretending to love me, while hiding her filth under a layer of perfume and sweet nothings. I didn't say anything that morning. Just watched her pour orange juice with a hand that had probably been on another man the night before. That was the day I started keeping notes. Monday, 7:40 a.m., leaves for work early. Smiles too much. Tuesday, 6:15 p.m. Says she's going to spin class. Comes back at 9:40. No sweat. Hair still styled. Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Gets a phone call in the kitchen. Laughs like she's 17. Says it's Janice from yoga. Doesn't do yoga. I wasn't just documenting her lies. I was building a case. A fortress of truth around myself. I needed more than emotion. I needed proof. Because when the moment came, I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to crush her. I hired a private investigator. His name was Kyle. Former military, dead eyes, professional. I gave him everything. Her routine, her schedule, her known associates. Within 48 hours, he had a photo of her kissing Travis in the parking lot of a wine bar 3 cities over. Lip lock. Hand in his back pocket. Her smile wide open. The next day, she came home with a bouquet of tulips. For no reason, she said, planting a kiss on my cheek. For no reason. My knuckles turned white around the stem of the glass I was holding. She saw it. Her smile faltered. Everything okay? Yeah, I said. Just thinking about how I was going to bury you, Jennifer. The worst part? I still loved her in some twisted way. Or maybe I loved the version I thought was real. The woman I built memories with, raised a daughter with, cried beside during hard nights. But that woman was dead. She never existed. Jennifer was a myth I told myself to sleep better at night. That Thursday, Kyle sent me another batch of photos. Hotel rooms, restaurants, parking garages. And the worst of them all? A picture of her and her stepfather in a hotel suite. His hand on her thigh. Her smile, wide, wicked, knowing. I dropped my phone. I felt cold. Hollow. A part of me wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Just silence. Crushing, screaming silence inside my head. This wasn't cheating. This was something darker. A power game. A humiliation ritual. And I had been the clown in the center ring. So I stopped talking to her. Stopped touching her. I pretended to be tired. Work was draining me. I was under the weather. She started noticing. Asking questions. Touching my shoulder more. Her fake concern reeked of guilt. She tried to initiate intimacy one night. I turned over and said I had a headache. She was stunned. For a second, her face cracked. Just a flicker of confusion and, was that panic? Then it was gone. She rolled away, muttering something under her breath. That's when I knew. She could lie to me, but not forever. Because I had everything I needed now. And soon, the world would know what kind of woman Jennifer really was. It was a Saturday morning when I decided to finally confront her. Not late at night, not in the middle of an argument, no. I wanted the light of day on her lies. No shadows. No excuses. Jennifer walked into the kitchen wearing a t-shirt that wasn't mine. Probably one of Travis's, I thought. Or maybe even her stepfather's. My stomach turned. She smiled at me like she hadn't poisoned her entire life. Morning, babe, she chirped, pouring coffee. Want some? I didn't answer. Just looked at her. She frowned. Something wrong. I dropped the manila folder onto the kitchen island with a dull thud. Her hand froze mid-pour. She looked at it like it might explode. What's that? She asked. Open it. She hesitated. Then slowly, carefully, like a child touching a hot stove, she opened the folder. Inside were the DNA results. Photos of her and Travis. Photos of her and her stepfather. Email printouts. Hotel reservations. She stared at the contents in silence. Her lips twitched, her eyes flickered, but no tears, no guilt. Just calculation. Then came the moment of truth. Say something, I said, my voice like steel. She looked up at me and smiled. Not sheepishly, not apologetically. A full, shameless, teeth-baring smile. Well, she said, I was wondering how long it'd take you. That was her first line. Not denial. Not an apology. Just pure arrogance. You've been lying to me for over 20 years, I growled. Jennifer leaned against the counter like she was bored. Oh, come on, James. You're not a saint. You love being the hero. The super dad. You think you didn't enjoy the attention? The pity party when your mom died? Don't act like you were some innocent victim. I worked 2 jobs to pay for that wedding, I said, my voice cracking. For Emma's wedding. Emma's happy, she snapped. She doesn't need to know anything. She thinks you're her dad. So what if biology says otherwise? You were good for the role. Good for the role. Like I was just some character she cast in her little soap opera. Was it all a game to you? I asked. Did you get off on it? Sleeping with your stepfather? Then marrying me and letting me raise his kid? She rolled her eyes. God, you sound so dramatic. Travis was a fling. Gary, Don't say his name, I barked. She raised her hands mockingly. Fine. Whatever. The point is, you were convenient. You had a stable job. You were dependable. I wanted to throw something, break something, but I stayed still. I wouldn't give her that satisfaction. You're a monster, I said. She chuckled. No, I'm a survivor. No, Jennifer. Survivors don't destroy the people who love them. She tilted her head. You're not going to tell Emma, are you? I said nothing. Because that would be cruel, she continued. She's happy. She just got married. You wouldn't want to ruin that, would you? She was still playing chess, still trying to manipulate me. Even now, after all the cards were on the table. I haven't decided what I'll do yet, I said. But I promise you this, whatever happens next, you earned it. She laughed. What are you going to do, James? Cry about it? Write a blog post? Go stay at your brother's place and eat ice cream in a hoodie? That smirk. That smug, disgusting smirk. No, I said slowly. I'm going to make sure the world knows exactly who you are. Her smile faltered just a bit. Good. I'll start with your friends, then your job, then your precious stepfather. And if you even think of trying to take Emma away from me, I will burn this entire house down and walk away smiling. For the first time, Jennifer looked afraid. Just a flicker. It felt good. I gave you everything, I said. You gave me betrayal. So now, I'll give you justice. I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there in silence. For once, she didn't have a comeback. And that silence? It was beautiful. The house was quieter than it had ever been. Jennifer didn't speak to me after that morning. Not in words, at least. She'd moved through the rooms like a ghost, slamming drawers louder than necessary, pretending to forget basic chores just to provoke me. But I didn't rise to it. That version of me, the one who argued, who begged, who cared, was gone. Now I was the storm on the horizon. And she could feel it coming. I wasn't bluffing when I said I'd burn her world down. First stop was her job. Jennifer worked at a prestigious real estate firm. She was their top closer, the queen of charm, the woman who could sell a penthouse to a blind man. Her reputation was everything, which made what I had planned even sweeter. I met with her boss, Mr. Langston. Tall, rich, mid-50s, still wearing his wedding ring but not fooling anyone. I have some concerns about your employee, I said calmly. He raised an eyebrow. Jennifer? What kind of concerns? I slid over the USB stick. Photos. Emails. Affairs with clients. One of them may or may not be a felon. Langston looked at the flash drive like it might bite him. Now, I continued, I'm not trying to ruin your company, but I thought you deserved to know what kind of person is representing your brand. He didn't ask questions, just pocketed the drive and thanked me. I walked out knowing that by Monday morning, her professional life would be on fire. Next, her social circle. Jennifer loved her little brunch clique. 3 women she gossiped with over mimosas and low-fat croissants. I knew their husbands. I had their numbers. So I texted them. No lies. No drama. Just facts. Thought you should know. Your wife is hanging out with someone who slept with her own stepfather and cheated on her husband for years. Attached is the proof. What you do with it is up to you. Simple. Clean. Brutal. By that weekend, the calls started coming in. First her friend Karen. Then Melissa. Then Tanya. Jennifer screamed into the phone in the other room like a banshee caught in a fire. I sat on the porch with my coffee, listening to her little empire collapse, one piece at a time. She stormed outside. What the hell did you do? She shrieked. I didn't look at her. Just took another sip. You're destroying my life. No, I said, still calm. I'm just showing people who you really are. She grabbed the mug out of my hand and threw it against the wall. It shattered. She was shaking. You think you're so righteous? So pure? You're pathetic, James. You couldn't handle a real woman, so you're playing little revenge games like a child. I stood up, towering over her. I handled everything, Jennifer. I raised a daughter that wasn't mine. I paid for a wedding that wasn't mine to give. I gave you my soul, and you spit on it. So don't you dare call me pathetic. Her eyes flickered. Rage. Panic. A touch of fear. You're a joke, she hissed. No, I whispered, stepping closer. You're the joke. And it's not funny anymore. She tried to slap me. I caught her wrist midair. No more games, I said. You had your turn. Now it's mine. And with that, I let go, turned my back, and walked inside. That night, I moved all her things into the guest room. No discussion. She came upstairs and saw her wardrobe boxed up, her makeup cleared from the vanity, her framed pictures removed from our bedroom walls. What the hell is this? She demanded. This, I said, is the new arrangement until the divorce is finalized. Her face turned pale. You're serious? I was never more serious about anything in my life. Her voice cracked. And Emma. I paused. She'll know. When the time's right. Jennifer's eyes widened. You wouldn't. Watch me. And then I shut the door. Her cries behind it didn't move me. Not anymore. Because the woman on the other side? She was just a stranger with my last name. And her reckoning had only just begun. 3 days passed before I made the hardest decision of all. Telling Emma. I hadn't seen her since the wedding. She was still on her honeymoon in Santorini, living the dream I'd worked half a decade to provide. She texted me photos of sunsets, of her and Josh grinning with wine glasses, of waves crashing against the rocks. Every one of those messages hit me like a knife. Not because I didn't love her, but because I wasn't sure what I was anymore. Her father? Her placeholder? Was I even real in her story? But she deserved the truth. Not the filtered version Jennifer would try to spin when things finally hit the newsfeed. I wanted her to hear it from me. Calm. Measured. No yelling. No blaming. Just facts. So I waited until they landed. Hey, sweetie, I texted. We need to talk. In person. She replied a few hours later. Emma, of course. Everything okay? Me. It will be. We met at her favorite cafe downtown. The same one we used to visit after her dance rehearsals when she was a teen. Back then, she'd order cocoa with extra whipped cream and talk about boys and dreams and how one day she'd get married on a cliff in Greece. Funny how life delivers exactly what you asked for, and then tears the wrapping paper off with bloody hands. She walked in, radiant, glowing with honeymoon energy. When she hugged me, I held her just a little too long. She noticed. Dad? What's wrong? I sat her down, looked her in the eyes. I have something to tell you, and I need you to let me finish before you say anything. She nodded slowly, concern rising like fog. I took out the manila folder, the same one I'd slammed on the kitchen island in front of her mother. I slid it across the table. She didn't open it right away. What is this? The truth, I said. She looked at me, then down at the folder. Her hands trembled slightly as she pulled it open. She skimmed the top page. The DNA results. Then her brows furrowed. Her mouth parted. No, she whispered. I didn't want it to be true, I said, my throat tightening. But it is. She flipped the next page. And the next. Her eyes moved faster. Her face drained of color. Mom and Grandpa Gary? I nodded. It started before you were born. Maybe even longer. I didn't know. I swear to God, Emma, I didn't know. I loved you from the second I held you. Nothing changes that. Tears welled up in her eyes. No, no, no. This can't be real. Why would she? Why would he? I reached across the table and grabbed her hand. I'm still your dad. I will always be your dad. But you needed to know who your mother really is. She sat frozen, shaking, silent. And then she broke. The tears came fast. Not soft weeping, rage tears. Betrayal. Identity shattering. The sound of a soul cracking wide open. She lied to me. My whole life, everything was a lie, she whispered. I let her cry. People stared. I didn't care. Let the world watch. After 10 minutes, she looked up at me, mascara streaked down her cheeks. I want to confront her. I understand, I said. But when you do, be ready. She'll lie. She'll cry. She'll play the victim. Emma wiped her face. She doesn't get to be the victim. No, I said. Not anymore. When we walked out of that cafe, I saw something in Emma I hadn't seen before. Steel. She wasn't a child anymore. She wasn't just someone's daughter. She was a woman standing on the edge of everything she thought she knew. And she wasn't going to fall. She was going to fight. Jennifer had destroyed her marriage, her friendships, and now her daughter's trust. But she underestimated us both. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was justice for Emma, for me, for every lie that poisoned our lives. Jennifer must have known something had shifted the moment Emma came through the door. She was still in her robe, pretending to read a book she never had the attention span for. Her wine glass was untouched for once. She looked up from the couch with that well-practiced, innocent expression. Honey, you're back early. How was Greece? Emma didn't answer. She stood at the edge of the living room like she was staring down a venomous snake. Her fists were clenched so tight I could see the blood draining from her knuckles. Jennifer's smile faltered. Emma, you lied to me, Emma said flatly. Jennifer blinked, tilting her head, already shifting into performance mode. Sweetheart, what are you talking about? Don't you dare play dumb. That's when Jennifer noticed I was standing behind Emma, arms crossed, watching like a referee waiting to call the final round. Jennifer stood up, slowly. Whatever your father told you, he's confused. He's been under a lot of stress. DNA test doesn't lie, Emma snapped. And neither do photos. I saw everything. Emails. Dates. Your whole sick history with him. Her voice cracked on the last word. She couldn't even say Gary. Jennifer froze. For once, there was no smirk. No sarcasm. Just silence. Emma took a step closer. You let me grow up thinking my father was this man right here. She pointed behind her, while you knew the truth and chose to lie. To both of us. For decades. Jennifer tried to speak. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Emma didn't wait. You let me name him in my wedding speech. I thanked him for being the man I'd want my future husband to be like. You let me say all that, while knowing he wasn't even my biological father. Tears welled in Jennifer's eyes, but Emma wasn't moved. Don't cry now, she said coldly. You didn't cry when you were in that hotel suite with Gary, did you? Jennifer's legs buckled. She dropped onto the couch like gravity finally hit her. It wasn't supposed to come out this way, she whispered. Emma laughed, bitter and sharp. Yeah? How was it supposed to come out? Over brunch? On my deathbed? I didn't want to hurt you, Jennifer croaked. Emma stepped back. You did hurt me. You just didn't think I'd ever find out. You hid behind comfort and called it protection. That's not love. That's cowardice. Jennifer finally looked at me. Her eyes were pleading now, like I was going to come to her rescue. But I didn't move. You could have told me the truth when I turned 10, Emma said. When I asked why I don't look like Dad. When I started noticing how weird Grandpa Gary was around you. Jennifer gasped. He loved you, Emma. Just not in that way. Emma shook her head in disbelief. You're defending him? Jennifer reached out, desperate now. You're my daughter. Emma stepped back like the touch might poison her. No, she said. You're not my mother. Not anymore. You're just a woman I used to admire, before I found out who you really are. And with that, she walked out. Jennifer sat frozen on the couch, her arms wrapped around herself like she could hold her crumbling world together. I didn't say a word. I just walked over, picked up the framed photo of the three of us from her wedding, and laid it face down on the coffee table. She flinched at the sound. I leaned in close. You didn't just lose a husband today, I whispered. You lost your daughter too. Hope it was worth it. I left her there. Alone. Surrounded by broken frames, unfinished lies, and the cold silence of a house that once held love. Her throne had crumbled. The queen had fallen. And the kingdom would never be hers again. The silence in the house after Emma left wasn't just heavy, it was suffocating. Jennifer didn't come out of the bedroom for 2 days. I could hear her moving around in there, probably trying to piece together a plan, a lie, a new angle to crawl out of the hole she'd dug. But the air had changed. The foundation she built on deception was rotting, and she knew it. I was in the garage when I got the call. It was from a restricted number. Mr. Davis? The voice said. This is Detective Hughes with the City Police Department. We received a report involving a man named Gary Marshall. Are you familiar with him? I froze. Yeah, I said, jaw tightening. I'm familiar. The detective continued. There's an active investigation into inappropriate conduct and abuse allegations dating back over 20 years. Your name came up as a potential witness. We'd like to speak with you at your earliest convenience. Everything stopped in that moment. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice. I agreed to the meeting, sat with the detective for over 2 hours and told him everything I knew. I gave him copies of the emails I'd found, dates, photos, the hotel confirmations Jennifer had saved in a folder titled Jay's Book Club. Sick. Before I left, the detective leaned over his desk and said, We've been trying to bring this guy down for a long time. You just gave us something solid. And then he added something that made the hairs on my neck stand up. Your wife may have been more of a victim than you realize. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was infuriating. Victim. I snapped. She kept the lie going for 22 years. Lied to me. Lied to our daughter. Slept with the man after she married me. Don't call her a victim. The detective nodded. Noted. When I got home, she was waiting in the kitchen. Pale. Hollow-eyed. Her mascara smudged like she tried to hide the wreckage on her face with a warm mask. You went to the police, she said quietly. I didn't answer. Just walked past her and poured myself a drink. They called me. Said there's an open investigation. You gave them everything? I took a slow sip. I gave them enough. Jennifer's voice cracked. Do you want me in jail? I want you held accountable, I said, turning to face her. You ruined my life. You manipulated our daughter's entire existence. And you defended a man who abused you and kept abusing you because it was convenient. I didn't know how to escape, she whispered. No, I corrected. You didn't want to. Because you liked the power. You liked knowing something I didn't. You wore that lie like jewelry. Tears started falling. But I didn't move. I didn't comfort her. She dropped to her knees. James, please. I've lost everything. No, I said coldly. You're just starting to. The next day, her job let her go. Mr. Langston didn't even bother with a meeting, just a termination email citing reputational damage to the firm. Her friends stopped responding to her calls. Social media turned into a quiet graveyard of deleted comments and removed tags. Her reputation, her image, her entire curated life gone. Emma blocked her number. Gary was arrested 2 days later. The charges were serious: grooming, manipulation, statutory offenses, possible trafficking connections. His face hit the local news like a cannonball. I watched Jennifer fall apart in slow motion. And I didn't lift a finger. One morning, she tried to apologize again. Came into the room with this trembling voice, a crumpled letter in her hand like some broken teenager. I wrote this to explain everything. I looked at the paper, then back at her. Keep it, I said. I'm not your priest. I don't want your confession. She started to cry again, right there in the hallway. But I just walked past her. Because the knife had already been twisted. And now she could bleed alone. The divorce papers arrived exactly 3 weeks after Jennifer's last performance. I didn't even tell her. I let the courier hand them to her at the front door. She must have thought it was another warning letter about Gary's investigation. Her face lit up with confusion, then horror when she realized what she was holding. She followed me into the living room, waving the envelope like it was a death sentence. You really filed? She asked, voice trembling. I didn't look up from my laptop. I told you I would. She stood there frozen, mouth parted like she had something to say, but no words came. That was always her weakness. When she didn't have the upper hand, she folded. The actress without a script. I didn't think you'd actually go through with it. That made me laugh. A sharp, bitter thing that echoed off the walls. You thought I'd stay? After everything? After you took 22 years of my life, shattered my daughter's identity, and humiliated me in front of the world. I was scared, James. No, I said coldly. You were selfish. Her face crumbled. What about Emma? What about our family? I stood up, walked to her, and got real close. You killed this family the day you let that man touch you and pretended it was normal. The day you looked me in the eye and said, I love you, while carrying his child. And every day since then that you smiled and lied. She looked down, couldn't face me, and I was done giving her chances. I moved out a week later, left the house to her, not because she deserved it, but because I didn't want it. That place reeked of ghosts and betrayal. I packed 2 duffel bags, loaded my truck, and drove away without even looking in the rearview mirror. Emma and I stayed close. She came to stay with me the night after I moved. We ate pizza in silence, sitting on the floor of my small apartment. She didn't ask about her mother, and I didn't bring her up. We talked about memories, real ones. I still remember you teaching me how to ride a bike, she said softly. I fell 6 times, scraped my knee bloody, but you didn't let me quit. I smiled. You were a fighter, even then. She reached over and grabbed my hand. You're still my dad, she whispered. No DNA test can change that. And right there, in that tiny apartment with peeling paint and old carpet, I felt peace for the first time in months. Jennifer, on the other hand, wasn't doing so well. Her name was mud in every circle she once dominated. Her social media was wiped clean. She tried rebranding, posting cryptic quotes and selfies with fake smiles, but the comments were brutal. You ruined your daughter's life. Monster in a housewife costume. Not even Hollywood could write betrayal like yours. Then, the final blow. Gary pleaded guilty. His plea deal saved him from a life sentence, but he'll still rot for a long time. And Jennifer? She was listed as a known associate in several shady real estate dealings they'd uncovered. No formal charges, yet. But her name's now permanently attached to the man who abused her and who she protected. Emma cut all ties. The last time she spoke about her mother was in passing, when she said, I hope she finds help, but she's never getting back into my life. As for me, I moved to a smaller town, bought a fixer-upper, started rebuilding from the ground up, literally and emotionally. Hammer in one hand, peace in the other. I've started dating again. Nothing serious. But I'm learning what honesty feels like. What peace tastes like. What freedom actually is. If I could tell anyone reading this one thing, it's this. Lies don't just crack the surface, they rot everything from the inside. And when the truth finally comes out, it burns. But that fire? That's how you forge a new beginning. Jennifer thought she could live forever on deception. She didn't expect to be exposed by a single sentence in a wedding toast, or undone by a father who refused to stay silent. But she was. And I'm still standing. Her red dress clung to her like sin. I remember that detail vividly, not because of how beautiful she looked, but because it's the same dress she wore the night she humiliated me in front of 200 of her coworkers. My wife, Jessica, danced with her boss like I didn't even exist, as if the vows we exchanged meant nothing compared to the glint of a higher paycheck or the rush of some filthy office fling. And I just stood there, watching it all unravel with a plastic cup of cheap champagne in my hand. It was Jessica's company party, the kind they threw once a year at that obnoxious rooftop bar downtown, where the view is better than the people. She insisted I come, said it was important, said her boss, Mr. Dalton, would finally meet me, that I should make a good impression. She picked my suit. She told me to smile more. She made it sound like this night was for us. Turns out, it was just for her. I noticed something was off the second we walked in. She let go of my hand the moment we crossed the threshold. Didn't even look back. Just strutted toward her colleagues like she'd been unshackled. I followed like some obedient mutt, shaking hands with strangers, pretending not to notice how often her eyes darted toward Dalton, the kind of silver-haired prick you just know plays golf 3 times a week and cheats on his wife with every assistant he hires. Then the music started. Some slow, jazzy track. Jessica laughed louder than she needed to and took a step closer to Dalton. And then it happened. She looked over her shoulder at me, not with affection, not with pride, but with something smug, cold, like she'd already decided who she was going to be that night. And then she said it. I'm going to dance with whoever I want. You have 2 options, sit and watch, or leave. I froze. Did she really just say that? Was that my wife? I looked around. People heard. People watched. Some glanced away, embarrassed for me. Others smiled like they were used to this sort of humiliation. I wasn't. I stared at her, trying to find the woman I married underneath all that lipstick and arrogance. But she was gone, replaced by someone cruel, vain, someone who wanted to see me squirm. So I left. I didn't make a scene. I didn't throw my drink or yell or grab her arm like some lunatic. I turned and walked out, past the valet, down the street, into the rain. I didn't even grab my coat. I let the night swallow me whole. But here's the part she didn't expect. Jessica regretted it. Not weeks later. Not the next day. The second I left. She must have thought I'd stay and watch like a weak little puppy. She thought she had me wrapped so tight I'd endure whatever public disgrace she handed me. But when I left, really left, I took something with me she didn't know she valued until it was gone. Control. Because that night, when I didn't come home, when I didn't call, when her texts piled up unread, she started unraveling. She showed up at my brother's apartment the next morning, crying in heels and smeared mascara, begging, whispering through the door, "It was just a dance, Ethan." I didn't mean anything by it, but I wasn't there. I was already 2 steps ahead. Because the truth is, that wasn't just a dance. It was a declaration. It was her looking me in the eye and saying, "You're nothing to me." And if I was nothing to her, then she had no idea what I was about to become. The next night, I came home, not because I forgave her, but because I needed answers. The house was dark, quiet. She was curled up on the couch like some damsel in distress, wearing the same red dress. Only now it looked like a costume, like she was trying to turn back time by rewinding the scene. The makeup was gone. Her hair was a mess. But the real difference? Her eyes. They were wild. Panicked. "You didn't answer me," she said. Her voice cracked like she was the one who got betrayed. I didn't say a word. Just walked past her, upstairs, into our bedroom. I needed to be alone. But she followed. "Ethan, you don't understand. I was just trying to make you jealous. That's all it was. I didn't mean anything with Dalton. It was just a stupid moment, I swear." I turned, and for the first time, I really looked at her. I'd seen her cry before, but this wasn't about guilt. It was about fear. Fear of losing control. And that's when something shifted in me. I didn't yell. I didn't even raise my voice. "When did you stop respecting me?" She blinked, caught off guard. "What?" "That night wasn't the beginning, Jess. It was the confirmation. You've been slipping for months. Staying late at work, hiding your phone, Those mysterious girl nights where your friends never post a single photo. You think I didn't notice? Her jaw tightened. So now I'm not allowed to go out? You're not allowed to lie. And you're terrible at it. She scoffed, turning away. Oh my God, you're being so dramatic. I nodded slowly. That word, dramatic, hit harder than I expected. It was the same one she used when I found the receipt in her purse last month. A hotel downtown. 2 martinis, an appetizer, 1 room. She said she had lunch with a client and used the room to rest because of a migraine. And like an idiot, I wanted to believe her. But that night, watching her grind up against her boss like some thirsty college girl, everything clicked. Later that night, I waited for her to fall asleep. Around 1:30 a.m., I slid her phone out from under the pillow. She always kept it close now, tighter than she ever held me. She had changed the password weeks ago, but she underestimated me. I knew her better than she thought. Her sister's birthday, 0827. Unlocked. My hands were shaking. Not because I was scared of what I'd find, but because I already knew. I scrolled past the usual apps until I hit the hidden folder in her gallery. Buried deep. And there it was, photo after photo of her with Dalton. Selfies in an office. Her in a black lace outfit I'd never seen before. One video where she whispered, "Tell me I'm your dirty little secret," then giggled like a goddamn high schooler. My chest burned. My mouth went dry. And still, I kept going. The messages were worse. Dalton, your husband have any clue where you were last night? Jessica, he still thinks I'm with Megan. Men are so easy. Every message was like a nail in the coffin of our marriage. Every emoji, every miss you already, every picture. I don't know what hurt more, the betrayal itself or how casual she was about it. Like I was just some extra in the movie of her life. I put the phone back before she woke. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed to plan. I needed to hit her where it would hurt. Emotionally, legally, financially. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about justice. I slept on the couch that night, staring at the ceiling, letting the silence scream inside me. Every moment we'd spent together, every trip, every time she said, "I love you," it all felt like a lie now. And the worst part? I didn't even cry. Not a tear. Because somewhere between the dance and the discovery, the part of me that loved her had already died. The next morning, she made pancakes. Jessica never made pancakes. Not on a weekday. Not unless she was guilty of something and trying to mask it with syrup and fake smiles. She wore that light pink robe she knew I liked. Hair brushed, makeup just enough to look effortless. She greeted me like nothing had happened, like she hadn't been grinding on her boss while I stood there like furniture. "I thought we could talk over breakfast," she said. Flipping a pancake like this was some cozy scene from a commercial. I sat across from her, but I didn't touch the food. I just watched her, studied her, how she avoided eye contact, how her smile cracked for half a second every time I didn't respond. She was performing, and the performance was pitiful. "You looked through my phone, didn't you?" she finally asked. I didn't blink. "Yes." She sighed like I was the one who crossed a line. "So what now? You're gonna punish me? Ruin our marriage over a mistake?" "Mistake," I repeated, almost laughing. "Jessica, mistakes are accidents. You did this on purpose." Over and over again. "I was lonely, Ethan," she snapped, suddenly shedding the innocent act. "You think it's easy being married to a guy who comes home late, talks about bills, never touches me like he used to?" I needed to feel wanted. Dalton made me feel alive again. My jaw clenched. "You could have talked to me. You could have said something before jumping into bed with your boss." "I didn't jump into bed with anyone," she lied. "You're just assuming things." I saw the videos, the pictures, the messages, and there it was. The mask slipped. Her lips parted, no words coming out. No tears. Just nothing. For a second, she looked like a stranger. A cold, calculating stranger who finally realized she'd lost her grip. "You were never supposed to see that," she muttered. I stood up, pushed the untouched plate away. "Yeah, I was never supposed to know the truth, right?" She didn't follow me upstairs. She didn't say sorry. She just sat there in silence, surrounded by pancakes no one would eat. By noon, I had already contacted a lawyer, made copies of everything on her phone. I wasn't going to be the fool who left empty-handed while she played house with her boss and smiled in court. That night, she tried again, crawled into the bed I no longer considered mine, and tried to touch my arm like we could just rewind everything with one gesture. "Let's fix this," she whispered. "Please." I turned my head slowly. You think this is still fixable? I made a mistake, she said again, that word burning like acid every time it left her mouth. Multiple. Calculated. Months-long mistakes. I corrected. Her voice got sharper. Fine. So I messed up. But what do you want, Ethan? A divorce? Is that what this is about? Because I can tell you now, I won't make it easy. There it was. The real her. The venom beneath the sugar. I stared at her. You already made it hard. But I'm not afraid of you, Jess. Not anymore. She rolled over, scoffing. You're weak. You always were. That's why someone like Dalton could get to me in the first place. I nodded slowly, biting down the rage bubbling in my throat. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her that every insult only proved what I now knew for sure. She was never the woman I thought I married. She was just the mask. A performance. And I'd been the audience, clapping blindly. She fell asleep eventually. I didn't. Instead, I stared at the ceiling until morning, planning my next move. A storm was coming. One she'd never see coming. She wanted a game? She just lost it. The next few days, I played along. I said nothing. I didn't yell. Didn't pack my bags. I acted like the quiet, humiliated husband who was still processing. And Jessica, for once, played the role of the desperate wife. She cooked, cleaned, texted me in the middle of the day with hearts and apologies. She even sent selfies from her desk like she was proving she was being good. The irony made me sick. But behind the silence, I was preparing. I had already transferred our joint savings into a secure account under my name. She never noticed. I was careful, quiet. I contacted my friend Lucas, a real estate agent, and lined up a temporary apartment. I scheduled consultations with a private investigator, not to find more, but to document what I already knew. I needed everything clean, undeniable, on paper. The courts don't care about heartbreak. They care about evidence. And while I laid the groundwork, she got lazy. By the third day, she started texting less. Her tone changed. The guilt faded and the arrogance returned. She was comfortable again, too comfortable. She thought I was over it. She thought she still had power. Then Friday night hit. I told her I had a late meeting. Left around 6 p.m., fully dressed for business. But I never went to the office. I doubled back. Parked 2 blocks from the house. Sat in the shadows, waiting. At exactly 7:14 p.m., Dalton's sleek black Mercedes pulled into our driveway. She let him in. No hesitation. No pause. She didn't even text me a fake check-in. I crept to the side window, just enough to see into the living room. There she was, in that same black lace outfit from the photos on her phone. His hands were already on her waist. She giggled, said something I couldn't hear, and pulled him toward the couch. They dropped onto it like it was a routine. I felt something break in my chest. Not like a snap, more like a slow, cold rip. Not because I was hurt anymore. That part of me was long gone. It was because I knew her now. Really knew her. No more illusions. No more, maybe she's just lost. No, she was rotten. Selfish. A user who wore love like a disguise. I recorded everything. 2 minutes. 5. 10. Just enough. Then I walked to the front door and knocked. Hard. I heard movement. Panicked whispers. Footsteps. She opened the door half-dressed, wide-eyed like a child caught stealing candy. But this wasn't candy. This was my life. Ethan, what are you doing here? She gasped, blocking the view behind her with her body. Forgot something, I said calmly. Dalton appeared in the hallway, shirt unbuttoned, clearly stunned. I met his eyes and smiled. Nice to finally meet you, Dalton. I've heard so much. Ethan, don't. Jessica snapped, trying to shut the door. I stepped in. Her hand hit my chest, trying to stop me, but she knew she couldn't. I walked right past her. Didn't say a word. Just looked around like I was making a final inspection of a crime scene. Relax, I said over my shoulder. Just grabbing my laptop. I picked it up off the counter. Looked right at her. You two enjoy the night. Don't forget to smile for the cameras. She froze. What cameras? She whispered. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I left. Drove away calm. Silent. A strange sense of peace crawling over me. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt in control. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just smiled. Because the war was over. And I had already won. The next morning, she called me 14 times. I let every call ring out. No voicemail. No response. Just silence. Something she wasn't used to. Jessica thrived on chaos, on shouting, on drama. Silence. That was a language she couldn't speak. It terrified her. By noon, I got the first text. Ethan, we need to talk. Please. I made a mistake. Then another. You don't understand. It wasn't serious with Dalton. It just happened. And another. Why are you doing this? I said I was sorry. I didn't respond. Not yet. She wasn't ready to hear what I had to say. But I was ready to move forward, and every step I took now was calculated. Cold. Necessary. I went to my lawyer. Dropped off everything. Photos, screenshots, a copy of the security cam footage I'd installed a week before, something she never noticed behind the decorative lamp. The video showed her and Dalton entering the house, her laughing, tugging him by the belt. Clear. Undeniable. Perfect. The lawyer looked through the files and said only 3 words. She's screwed. That night, I returned home. Not to live, but to observe. She was in the kitchen, pacing, her phone in one hand, a glass of wine in the other. She was still in that same silk robe, mascara smudged, eyes twitchy from lack of sleep. I could smell the stress on her like cheap perfume. When I stepped inside, she jolted. Like she wasn't sure if I was a ghost or a man. You have to talk to me, she blurted out. I shut the door behind me, calm, deliberate. Why? So you can lie again? I didn't lie. You said it was one night. She swallowed hard. Okay, I lied. It was a few times. But I swear I didn't feel anything. It was just, I don't know, power, excitement. I felt invisible with you, Ethan. Funny. That's exactly how I felt at the party. That shut her up. She stood there trembling, one hand on the counter. The same spot she'd probably bent over for him. I stared at it. My chest tightened, not from heartbreak anymore, but from rage. Pure, clean, focused rage. I loved you, I said. I gave you everything. Time, trust, loyalty. And you handed it to the first man who made you feel like a teenager again. Her lips quivered. I thought you'd fight for me. I am fighting, just not in the way you expected. She shook her head. What does that mean? I slid the envelope across the table. Thick, sealed, official. Her hand trembled as she picked it up. Divorce papers, I said. Her knees buckled. No, Ethan, no. We can fix this. I'll quit my job. I'll block Dalton. We'll go to therapy. Please. It's too late. I didn't think you'd actually leave me, she whispered. That's because you think actions have no consequences. But this is your consequence. She started crying. Real, ugly crying. The kind where the soul cracks a little. But it was too late for tears. The woman I married was long gone, replaced by someone I didn't even recognize. She tried one last time, voice desperate. Please, Ethan. I'll do anything. Don't walk away. But I already had. I turned, walked to the door, and paused only once. You wanted to feel wanted, Jessica? I hope he was worth everything you just lost. Then I left. Again. But this time, I wasn't coming back. A week passed. Not a day of it felt real. I moved into the apartment Lucas found for me. Small, clean, quiet. No red dresses hanging on closet doors. No lingering perfume. No hidden phones under pillows. Just space. Space to breathe. Space to think. Space to feel every twisted, broken part of myself, and slowly stitch it back together. Jessica kept calling. At first, every hour. Then a few times a day. By the end of the week, her texts were paragraphs. Please. Promises. Threats. One minute she was begging to start over. The next she was accusing me of overreacting, as if I'd tripped over a coffee table and not the complete implosion of my marriage. I didn't answer any of it, but I read every word. And with every message, I felt less of the man she tried to destroy and more of the one I used to be. Stronger, sharper, awake. Then came the call from Dalton's wife. Her name was Valerie. She'd found my number through mutual contacts after hearing rumors around Dalton's office. Turns out, what happened in my house that night wasn't their first time, or even their fifth. Jessica wasn't the only woman Dalton had used, and according to Valerie, she wasn't even the youngest. He does this every year, she told me. Picks someone under him, literally, and breaks their life apart. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to feel sorry for her. Part of me didn't care. She asked if I was planning to go public with the footage. I told her I wasn't yet. She said she'd support whatever decision I made. Said I deserved better. I thanked her and hung up. An hour later, Jessica showed up at my apartment. I hadn't told her the address. I guess she had her ways, too. She knocked like she didn't care if the neighbors heard. I opened the door slowly, bracing myself for another monologue of fake remorse. But this time, she looked different. less put together. Hair frizzed. No makeup. Eyes red. Her armor was gone. I'm not here to fight, she said softly. Then you should leave, I replied, already moving to close the door. Please. Just 5 minutes. I need to say something, and I swear I'll go. I hesitated, then stepped aside. She walked in like someone visiting a grave. The silence sat heavy between us. I didn't think you'd be able to walk away, she said eventually. You always forgave. You always came back. I didn't respond. She took a breath. I wasn't happy, Ethan. I thought it was your fault. I thought you stopped trying. But the truth is, it was me. I changed. I wanted attention, power, excitement. I let that need ruin everything. You didn't just ruin this, I said. You ruined me. She winced. Look down. I wanted you to break, she admitted. At the party. I wanted to hurt you. I don't even know why anymore. Maybe because I hated myself. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. And now I hate myself even more. She pulled something from her bag. It was her wedding ring. She placed it on the counter. I'm not asking you to take me back. I know I don't deserve that. I just wanted to tell you that. I'm sorry. Not because I lost you, but because I finally realized what I destroyed. I looked at the ring. At her. I loved you so much, Jess. I know, she whispered. And that's why I'll regret this for the rest of my life. She didn't wait for forgiveness. She turned and walked out. I stood there long after the door closed, staring at the ring. No tears. No relief. Just silence. But for the first time, it was mine. The divorce went through faster than I expected. Thanks to the evidence, the infidelity clause, and a damn good attorney, everything that could have dragged out for months was over in just under 6 weeks. She didn't fight back like she said she would. Didn't drag me through the mud. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was fear. Or maybe, deep down, she finally realized she had no right to keep anything that came from a marriage she burned to the ground. I kept the house. She moved out before the ink was dry. I visited once, just to walk through it. The kitchen still had that little chip in the counter where we once tried to open wine with a screwdriver. The living room smelled like her shampoo, faint and distant. Our bedroom felt like a hotel room. Cold, generic, empty of soul. I didn't stay long. The place was mine on paper, but it didn't feel like home anymore. After the documents were finalized, I took a few days off work. Drove out to a cabin my uncle owned upstate. No phone service. No reminders. Just trees, wind, and a silence that wasn't heavy anymore, just still. And somewhere in that quiet, I let it hit me. Not just the betrayal. Not just the anger. All of it. The years I spent building a life with someone who looked me in the eyes every day while keeping a whole other world hidden behind her smile. The birthdays. The vacations. The way she used to trace circles on my chest before falling asleep. I remembered it all, not with pain, but with clarity. It wasn't all fake. Some of it had to be real. But whatever it was, it died the moment she danced with her boss like I was invisible. That night kept replaying. Her words burned more than the images ever did. I will dance with whoever I want. She said it like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. And now she was gone. I thought I'd feel broken at the end of this. Thought I'd be drowning in bitterness. But it was strange. I didn't hate her. Not anymore. Hate takes energy. I was done giving her mine. What surprised me most was what came after the grief. Freedom. Not just from her, but from everything I let slide for years. From being the man who tolerated less than he deserved. From keeping quiet to keep the peace. From pretending I was okay when she chipped away at me piece by piece. And when I got back to the city, I started doing the things I used to love. I reconnected with old friends. Real ones who didn't just know the Jessica version of me. I got back into boxing, something she used to roll her eyes at because it was aggressive. I laughed more, slept better, ate better, looked in the mirror, and saw someone I respected again. She reached out once more. A long email. No begging this time. No bargaining. Just a recount of her own unraveling. Said Dalton dumped her 2 weeks after the divorce. Said she's in therapy. Said she understands if I never reply. I didn't. Because some things don't need closure. Some things just end. And that's okay. If I've learned anything from this mess, it's this. Never ignore the little signs. The shift in her eyes. The way your name feels different when she says it. The coldness behind her smile. You can't stop someone from betraying you, but you can decide what happens next. And I chose me. So if you're reading this, and your gut's screaming at you, listen to it. If you're making excuses for her silence, her secrets, her sudden girl trips, with no photos. Don't. You already know the truth. You just haven't faced it yet. But when you do, walk out the door. And don't look back. Months passed. Seasons changed. Her name faded from my lips, her face from my memories. I stopped checking her socials. Stopped wondering who she was with, or whether she missed me. The truth? I didn't care anymore. Not in that hollow, aching way that once swallowed my nights. What we had, what I thought we had, was gone. Burnt out like a flame left too long in the wind. But I wasn't angry. Not anymore. That man, the one who stood at that party, invisible while his wife danced with another man, he died the moment I chose to leave. What replaced him was someone stronger, sharper, honest with himself. And if you ask me whether I'd go through it all again just to find this version of myself, I'd say yes. Because pain, when faced head-on, doesn't destroy you. It reveals you. I started my own company a few months later. Something I'd always talked about but never had the nerve to do. I traveled, made new friends, fell in love with the silence I used to run from. And then, one random Saturday, at a bookstore of all places, I met someone new. She didn't look like Jessica. She didn't act like her either. She didn't play games or talk over me or weaponize her attention. She just smiled when we talked. Really smiled. The kind that says, I see you. I hear you. And I like what I see. We talked for hours. No pretending. No performances. Just presence. And that's when I realized I wasn't afraid to trust again. Not because I'd forgotten the betrayal, but because I survived it. To any man out there who feels like he's drowning in betrayal, who lies awake wondering what he did wrong, what he didn't give, what he could have done differently, I'll tell you what I wish someone told me. You didn't fail her. She failed herself. And your healing? It begins the moment you stop chasing explanations and start chasing yourself again. So stand up, walk out the door, and never look back at someone who looked right through you. She danced with her boss like I didn't exist. But now, I live like she never mattered. The morning she destroyed everything, she wasn't even trying to hide it. Dressed in a tight black dress, heels clicking against the hardwood floor, she barely glanced at me as she grabbed her purse. Honey, Dave is already here honking. Let's go, and I'll introduce you to him. The words slid off her tongue like it was the most natural thing in the world. At first, my brain refused to process it. Maybe I misheard. Maybe it was a joke. But then I heard it, the sharp, impatient honk outside. I pushed back the covers, still groggy from sleep, my pulse hammering in my ears. Dave. My voice came out steadier than I expected. Who the hell is Dave? She sighed like I was the one being difficult. Oh my God, Ethan, don't start. I told you, I'm going away for the weekend. Just relax, okay? She turned to the mirror, fixing her lipstick like she wasn't shattering our entire marriage into dust. Something cold crawled down my spine. I got out of bed, moving to the window, and there he was. A sleek black sports car, engine idling. The guy behind the wheel was texting on his phone, completely unbothered. My hands curled into fists as I turned back to her. You're leaving with him? She didn't even hesitate. Yeah, and the audacity. The sheer, unfathomable audacity. My jaw tightened. If he steps 1 foot inside this house, I'll break every bone in his body. Her eyes flicked to me through the mirror, a smirk pulling at the corner of her lips. Oh, Ethan. Always so dramatic. She grabbed her coat, tossing her hair over her shoulder. If you want to make a scene, fine. But I'm still going. And if you try to stop me, you'll regret it. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Regret it how? She met my gaze without flinching. You'll see. And then she walked out the door. I stood there, frozen, watching her walk out like the last 5 years of our marriage meant nothing. The front door shut behind her with a quiet click, but inside my head, it might as well have been a gunshot. My chest tightened as I took a slow breath, trying to force my mind to make sense of what just happened. The sports car outside let out another sharp honk. Through the window, I could see him now, mid-30s, cocky smirk, designer sunglasses perched on his smug face like he owned the world. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just some random guy. This was a man who knew. Knew she was married. Knew I was inside. Knew exactly what he was doing. The rage built fast, boiling under my skin like molten lava. My feet moved before my brain did, carrying me toward the door, my fist clenched so tight my knuckles ached. I yanked it open just in time to see her slide into the passenger seat, her laughter floating back toward me like nails on a chalkboard. She didn't even say goodbye. Didn't even look back. I strode down the driveway, my pulse hammering in my ears. The guy didn't even flinch when I stopped at his window. He just smirked, rolling it down like he was expecting me. "You must be Ethan," he said casually, like we were old friends meeting for coffee. I stared at him, my hands shaking with the need to do something. "Anything. Get out of the car." He chuckled. "Yeah, that's not happening." He glanced at her. "Babe, you ready?" "Babe." A white-hot flash of fury ripped through me. I barely registered what I was doing until my hand slammed against the car door, rattling the frame. She jumped in her seat, but he just laughed, shaking his head. "Man, chill. She made her choice." I shifted my glare to her. "Is this what you want, Natalie?" My voice came out hoarse, raw. "After everything we built?" For a split second, something flickered in her eyes, hesitation, guilt, maybe even fear. But then she shrugged, reaching for her seatbelt. "I told you I was done with this, Ethan. You just didn't want to hear it." My stomach dropped. "Done with what?" She sighed, rolling her eyes. "The boring routine. The same old, same old. Look, I know you'll want to play the victim here, but I told you I wasn't happy. You told me you needed space." I shot back, my voice rising. "Not that you were screwing someone behind my back." Dave smirked. "Careful, man. You're embarrassing yourself." I snapped. My fist connected with his face so fast he didn't even have time to react. His head jerked back against the headrest, sunglasses flying off into the passenger seat. He cursed, hands flying up to his nose, blood already dripping onto his designer shirt. Natalie screamed. "What the hell, Ethan?" He groaned, fumbling with the door handle, but I wasn't done. I grabbed the collar of his stupid, overpriced shirt, yanking him halfway out of the car. "You think this is funny? Think it's a game?" My breath was ragged, my entire body shaking. "Jesus, dude, let go." He sputtered, blood dripping down his chin. Natalie shoved me back with surprising force. "Get off him, you psycho." I stumbled, my mind reeling. Psycho. That's what she thought of me now. Not the husband she betrayed, not the man who gave her everything, just the crazy ex she couldn't wait to get rid of. Dave scrambled back into the driver's seat, wiping his nose with his sleeve. "You're insane," he muttered, shoving the car into gear. "Let's go, Nat." And she did. Just like that. I stood there, watching as the car peeled out of the driveway, tires screeching against the asphalt. My heart pounded so hard it hurt, my hands trembling as the adrenaline started to fade. She was gone. For real this time. And I had no idea what the hell I was supposed to do next. The sound of tires screeching away burned into my skull, leaving behind an eerie silence. The house, once filled with laughter, shared meals, and whispered conversations in the dead of night, now felt like an empty tomb. I stood there, fist clenched, watching the taillights disappear down the street, my heart hammering against my ribs. She left. Just like that. No hesitation. No second thought. She got in the car with him and vanished like I was nothing. A cold breeze rushed past, snapping me out of my trance. My fingers twitched with leftover adrenaline, but my mind was already shifting gears. This wasn't just some fling. It was bigger than that. A woman doesn't just casually walk out on a 5-year marriage unless she's been planning it. And if she's been planning it, what else has she been hiding? I turned back to the house, my chest rising and falling with deep, calculated breaths. My entire body was screaming at me to break something, to yell, to call her and demand answers. But anger wouldn't help me right now. I needed facts. My feet moved on autopilot as I walked inside. The scent of her perfume still lingered in the air, floral and sweet, like a ghost taunting me. I stormed into the bedroom, my eyes scanning the room for anything out of place. Her closet door was half open, revealing that she hadn't just packed for the weekend. She had cleared out half her wardrobe. Suitcases gone. Her jewelry box was missing. Even the little things, her favorite hoodie, the skincare bottles from the bathroom counter, the framed picture of us from our honeymoon, vanished. She didn't just leave for the weekend. She left for good. I swallowed the lump in my throat and moved toward her nightstand. Her drawers were empty, except for one single envelope. My pulse spiked as I picked it up. No name on the front, no markings. I tore it open, my hand stiff as I unfolded the paper inside. "Ethan, I know you'll be angry, but I had to do this for myself. I wasn't happy, and you wouldn't listen when I tried to tell you. Dave makes me feel alive again. I hope one day you'll understand." That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just an excuse wrapped in selfishness. My grip tightened around the paper as I resisted the urge to rip it to shreds. She had to do this for herself? What about me? What about the years we spent building a life together? What about the vows we took? I took a slow breath and forced myself to think. There was more to this. Women like Natalie don't just leave because they're unhappy. There's always another reason. Money, fear, secrets, and something told me she was hiding more than just an affair. I turned toward her vanity, opening drawers, shuffling through papers and old receipts. And then I saw it, her laptop. She never went anywhere without it. Why would she leave it behind? My fingers hovered over the touchpad, my brain warring with itself. Did I really want to know? Did I want to see the messages, the emails, the proof of how deep this betrayal went? Yes. I opened the screen, and the moment it powered on, the first thing I saw was her email. She hadn't even logged out. A dozen unread messages stared back at me. Some were from friends, others from work. But one sender stood out like a bullet to the chest. David K. My stomach clenched as I clicked on the email. Babe, everything is set. Once you get here, we'll sort out the rest. Don't forget to bring the papers. I need them ASAP. Papers? My eyes flicked down to the previous email, sent just a few days ago. Natalie, stop worrying. The test results came back weeks ago. He still doesn't know, and by the time he figures it out, we'll be long gone. Just bring the documents. We'll handle the rest. Test results? My fingers hovered over the mouse, my breath shallow. My heart pounded against my ribs as my mind connected the dots. The sudden distance. The arguments about trust. The way she had been pushing me away for months. She wasn't just cheating. She was hiding something much worse. I sat there, my vision tunneling as I reread the words. Test results. I shot up from the chair, my body moving on instinct as I marched toward the hallway. My fingers gripped the doorframe of the nursery, my entire world threatening to collapse under the weight of my own thoughts. I swallowed hard, staring at the crib, at the framed pictures on the wall, at the stuffed animals she had picked out. What if they weren't mine? The idea lodged itself into my brain like a parasite, eating away at every memory, every moment I had spent rocking them to sleep, every time I had called myself their father. I turned back toward the laptop, my legs numb as I sat down again. My hand shook as I scrolled through the emails, scanning for anything that could tell me what the hell was going on. And then I found it. An attachment. A PDF labeled Paternity Results. My throat went dry as I clicked on it, my entire body rigid as the document loaded. I forced myself to look, to read the words that would change my life forever. Probability of paternity, 0%. I couldn't breathe. The screen blurred in front of me. My lungs locked up, my body refusing to move, refusing to accept the truth. It wasn't just an affair. She had lied about everything. The world blurred. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, drowning out every other sound. 0%. Not 99%, not 50%, not even a shred of a chance. 0. I had spent years changing diapers, rocking them to sleep, wiping away tears after nightmares. I had called them my children, had imagined walking them down the aisle one day, watching them grow, teaching them everything I knew. And now they weren't even mine. A strangled sound escaped my throat. My hands clenched into fists, shaking violently as the truth came crashing down like a wrecking ball. Natalie hadn't just cheated on me, she had stolen years of my life. Stolen fatherhood. Stolen my right to know. I shoved back from the desk so hard the chair nearly toppled over. My mind raced, running in circles, but there was no escaping it. No way to unsee the brutal, undeniable truth written in cold, black ink. She knew. She had known for years and had let me believe the lie. I paced the room, my breath ragged. Every memory, every moment I had spent thinking I was a father, it was all tainted now. The first time I had held them in my arms. A lie. The sleepless nights, the bedtime stories, the whispered promises that I'd always protect them. A lie. The way Natalie would smile whenever she saw me playing with them, like she was watching some grand performance. AF*ING lie. ***. My fist slammed onto the desk, rattling everything on top of it. My vision swam with a red haze. She had played me. For years. A bitter laugh crawled up my throat. Jesus Christ, Natalie, I muttered, shaking my head. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. I stormed back to her closet, ripping open every drawer, throwing open every cabinet. She had to have left something behind, bank statements, hidden notes, anything that could tell me where she was planning to run. Then I found it. An unopened envelope buried under a stack of old receipts. The return address was from some high-end law firm downtown. My pulse quickened as I tore it open, my eyes scanning the contents. Divorce papers. The date on the documents was from 2 months ago. 2 months. She had been planning this for weeks, long before she ever walked out that door. Before she even had the decency to tell me to my face. There was no hesitation in the paperwork. No uncertainty. Just a cold, calculated plan to erase me from her life while running off with Dave. My stomach turned. She never intended to tell me the truth. She had planned to serve me these papers and leave, expecting me to sign away my rights I never even had. Something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I grabbed my phone, my fingers tightening around it until my knuckles ached. She was expecting me to roll over, to break down, to drown in my own grief while she rode off into the sunset with her little boyfriend. No, not this time. I dialed the only person who could help me now. The phone rang twice before a deep, familiar voice answered. Ethan? What's up, man? Josh? I breathed, my throat tight. I need a lawyer. Now. A pause. What the hell happened? I swallowed, staring at the divorce papers in my shaking hands. Natalie. She's been cheating on me. She's leaving. And I exhaled sharply, forcing myself to say it out loud. The kids aren't mine. Silence. Then a sharp inhale. What? I squeezed my eyes shut. You heard me. Josh, my best friend since college, had been skeptical of Natalie from day one. He never outright said it, but I could feel it. The way he watched her at dinners, the way he never fully trusted her, even when I was head over heels. No? He had been right all along. Meet me at my office in an hour, he said, his voice firm. And bring every document you have. I hung up without another word, my heart pounding. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. An hour later, I sat in Josh's office, staring at a pile of documents sprawled across his desk. The divorce papers. The emails. The paternity results. Each one a separate piece of the same twisted puzzle. Josh flipped through them, his expression unreadable. When he finally looked up, his jaw was tight. She's trying to blindside you, he said. If she had gotten you to sign these papers before you found out, she could have screwed you over even more. I clenched my fists. I want to destroy her. Josh leaned back, rubbing his chin. We'll hit her where it hurts. You don't just get to walk away after doing this dot. I exhaled sharply. I want a paternity fraud lawsuit. I want to take everything from her. Josh nodded slowly. Good. Because I think we can. My pulse steadied. The rage that had consumed me for hours started to shift. No more screaming. No more blind fury. Now, it was time for revenge. Josh leaned forward, tapping the stack of papers with his knuckles. First thing we do, file a lawsuit for paternity fraud. She used you, lied to you, and you damn well deserve compensation for that. His jaw was tight, his lawyer brain already kicking into full gear. We're also freezing any joint assets. She doesn't get to run off with her boy toy and live off your money. I exhaled slowly, the rage simmering into something colder, sharper. Controlled destruction. I want everything in motion by tonight, I said. She's not getting a head start. Josh smirked. Now you're thinking like a man who isn't gonna let a cheating be H walk all over him. He picked up his phone. Let me make some calls. As he started talking to his legal contacts, I stared at the papers again. Every line, every word felt like another knife twisting into my gut. She planned this. It wasn't some impulsive mistake. She had built an entire escape plan behind my back. And Dave, that smug bastard, thought he could just waltz into my life, rip my family apart, and drive off into the sunset like a goddamn movie villain? No, not without consequences. Josh hung up, turning back to me. All right, here's what's gonna happen. We're filing a restraining order against her. It'll keep her from making any legal moves before we're done with her. I'll also reach out to a PI to dig into Dave. Something tells me this guy isn't just some regular side piece. That made me pause. You think there's more to him? Josh shrugged. Men like him don't swoop in, wreck marriages, and just live happily ever after. There's always something, a hidden bankruptcy, a criminal record, maybe even another family. If he's got skeletons, we'll find them. I nodded, feeling my pulse steady. Good. Let's see how they like secrets being exposed. Josh jotted down a few notes. Now, about the kids. My stomach twisted. I knew this part was coming, but it didn't make it easier. You have zero legal obligation to them, Josh continued. But Natalie might try to fight for support. She'll argue that you acted as their father and demand child support even though they aren't biologically yours. The audacity. The sheer, unapologetic audacity. She can try, I muttered, my jaw tightening. She's not getting a cent from me. Josh nodded. Then we'll make sure of it. He leaned back in his chair. One more thing. You need to decide how far you want to take this. I exhaled. What do you mean? You want to just cut her off? Let her deal with her own mess? Or do you want to bury her? A long silence stretched between us. I thought about everything. The way she had walked out without a second thought. The way she had smirked at me when I confronted her. The years of lies, the stolen fatherhood, the manipulation, the betrayal. She hadn't just cheated. She had built an entire fraudulent life around me. I leaned forward, staring Josh dead in the eye. I want her to lose everything. Josh's smirk widened. That's what I was hoping you'd say. By the time I got home, it was already dark. The house felt different now, colder, emptier. Like a crime scene where the body had already been removed, but the bloodstains were still there. I walked through the room slowly, taking everything in. The furniture she had picked out. The photos she hadn't bothered to take down. The faint trace of her perfume still lingering in the air. But there was no us here anymore. Just me. And a mountain of broken trust. My phone buzzed. Josh filed everything. She'll get served first thing in the morning. I stared at the message, my fingers tightening around the phone. Perfect. She thought she was leaving me in the dust. She thought she had everything wrapped up in a neat little bow, ready for her new life with Dave. But tomorrow, reality would hit her like a freight train. I sat down on the couch, rubbing my temples. My brain was still running 1,000 miles an hour, but beneath the rage, the need for revenge, there was something else. Exhaustion. I had spent years building a life with someone I didn't even know. Who the hell was Natalie? Really? Had she ever loved me? Or was I just some convenient idiot who provided stability while she entertained her real desires behind my back? The memories felt foreign now, like I was watching someone else's life play out on a screen. The laughter. The whispered promises. The nights we spent talking about the future. All of it fake. I clenched my jaw. She's going to pay for this. But first, I needed sleep. Tomorrow was the day the war began. Morning came fast. Too fast. I barely slept. My mind playing the same scene on repeat, her walking out, the smug look on Dave's face, the paternity test flashing 0% like a death sentence. But today wasn't about emotions. Today was about war. By the time I stepped into Josh's office, he was already waiting, his laptop open, a fresh cup of coffee in his hand. She got served an hour ago, he said, not even looking up. I'm guessing you'll be hearing from her soon. I smirked. Let her call. I want to hear the panic in her voice. Josh chuckled, shaking his head. You're enjoying this a little too much. I earned it. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed. Natalie. I let it ring twice before answering. What the F*** is wrong with you? She shrieked, her voice cracking with hysteria. You're suing me? Freezing our accounts? What the hell, Ethan? Hearing her panic felt better than I expected. You mean what's the problem with me going after a cheating, lying fraud who stole years of my life? That's what you meant, right? You're acting crazy. You're blowing this out of proportion. I laughed. Actually laughed. Blowing it out of proportion? You lied to me about my own kids, Natalie. You planned to leave me and take my money while keeping me in the dark about the truth. You don't get to play the victim here. She huffed, her tone shifting to that manipulative sweetness she always used when she wanted to calm me down. Ethan, let's be reasonable. We don't have to do this the hard way. Oh, we absolutely do. A pause. Then her voice turned cold. You're making a mistake. No, Natalie. The mistake was thinking you'd get away with this. I hung up before she could respond. Josh raised an eyebrow. Damn, that was cold. I exhaled slowly. She deserves worse. He leaned forward. She'll fight this. She'll cry to a judge, make herself look like the victim, maybe even try to paint you as abusive. We need to get ahead of that. I nodded. What's next? Josh smirked. Now, we burn the ground she walks on. 2 hours later, the moment she realized it was over, I stood outside our house, arms crossed, as Natalie pulled up in a rush. Her face was flushed with anger, her hands gripping the steering wheel so tight her knuckles were white. She stormed out, slamming the door. Unlock the accounts, Ethan. I leaned against the door frame. No. Her nostrils flared. You can't just freeze everything. I need money. I have plans. I finished for her. With Dave. I let her name hang in the air like poison. Her lips pressed together. This isn't fair. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. You know what else isn't fair? Raising kids that aren't mine. Being robbed of years of my life. Finding out the woman I married is nothing but a selfish, cheating liar. She swallowed hard, but I could see the wheels in her head turning. She wasn't sorry. She was cornered. She changed tactics instantly. Look, Let's just talk about this. No. We're past talking. I pulled the folder from my back pocket and tossed it at her feet. Inside are the fraud charges. You'll be hearing from my lawyer soon. Her face went pale. Fraud. Paternity fraud, sweetheart. I folded my arms. And you're going to pay. She bent down, snatching up the folder with trembling fingers. Her eyes flicked over the first few pages, then darted back to me. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm dead serious. You think you can just walk away after what you did? I tilted my head. The law doesn't work like that. Her breathing grew heavy. You're doing this out of spite. I smirked. No, I'm doing this because you deserve it. She took a step closer, her voice a whisper now. Ethan, don't do this. We can figure this out. I shook my head. The time for figuring this out was before you got into that car with him. Her jaw clenched. Then, finally, the mask slipped. The real her came out. You think you're so much better than me, she spat. But you were boring. Predictable. Weak. That's why I left. There it was. The truth. I let out a slow, amused chuckle. And that's why you're about to lose everything. Her eyes darkened. You'll regret this. I shrugged. Doubt it. Then I turned, walked inside, and locked the door in her face. She screamed in frustration, but I didn't care. For the first time in months, I felt free. The next few days were a whirlwind of legal moves and strategic strikes. Natalie had underestimated me. She thought I'd crumble, drown in heartbreak, maybe even beg for answers. But she didn't realize one thing. I wasn't the same man she walked out on. By the time she figured that out, it was already too late. Josh worked fast. The paternity fraud lawsuit was in motion, and with my accounts frozen, she had nowhere to run. She had burned every bridge before making sure she had another to land on. And now? She was free-falling. I sat in my lawyer's office, scrolling through my phone when the news broke. Natalie's little boyfriend, Dave K., wasn't the smooth, untouchable playboy she thought he was. Josh's PI had found dirt on him faster than I expected. Multiple bankruptcies under his name. A restraining order from an ex-girlfriend. And the cherry on top? He was already married. She left me for a liar. A fraud. A man who played her the same way she played me. Poetic justice. The moment the report landed in my inbox, I sent it to her. No message. No explanation. Just the cold, hard facts of her new reality. She called immediately. I let it ring. She called again. And again. By the fifth call, I finally picked up. Her voice was frantic. Ethan, read the report? I leaned back in my chair. That was fast. A shaky breath. It's not what it looks like. I almost laughed. It looks like you left your husband for a broke fraud who's been playing you the whole time. Silence. I could feel her unraveling through the phone. She wasn't used to being outplayed. She wasn't used to losing. You set me up, she hissed. No, Natalie. My voice was calm, measured. You set yourself up. I just watched. She swallowed hard. You have to unlock my accounts. I need. No. Her breath hitched. Ethan, please. I let the silence drag. Let her feel it. The weight of everything crumbling around her. I loved you, I said finally, my voice void of emotion. I gave you everything. And you spat on it. It wasn't like that, eh? You lied about our kids. My voice sharpened. You used me, manipulated me, and thought you'd just walk away clean. I made a mistake, she whispered. I smiled. And now you're paying for it. She exhaled shakily. What do you want, Ethan? Do you want me to say I'm sorry? Do you want me to beg? No, Natalie. I leaned forward, gripping the phone tighter. I want you to suffer. She choked on a sob, but I didn't care. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was her reckoning. Later that evening, the final blow. I was pouring myself a drink when Josh's text came in. Josh, she tried to withdraw money from her personal savings. It's frozen too. Me. Good. Josh, she's got nothing left. I smirked, taking a slow sip of whiskey. Perfect. The final move was coming. Natalie thought she could ruin me and come out clean. But now, she was homeless, broke, and abandoned by the man she ruined her life for. And the best part? Tomorrow morning, she'd be served with the lawsuit. A legal battle she couldn't afford. I couldn't wait to see her fall. The next morning, I sat on my porch with a fresh cup of coffee, watching the sun rise over the neighborhood. The air was crisp, still, almost mocking in how peaceful it felt. Today was the day she lost everything. Josh had arranged for the lawsuit papers to be delivered directly to her. No hiding, no escaping. Natalie was going to have to stand face to face with the consequences of her actions. And as much as I wanted to be there to watch it happen, I had other plans. I grabbed my phone and sent a message to the only person who could make this even better. Me. Did you tell her yet? Josh? Oh yeah. She knows. Me. And? Josh. She's losing her ing mind. I smiled, taking another sip of my coffee. Perfect. Natalie was finally experiencing what it was like to be powerless. Later that morning, the breakdown. I had just finished my workout when my phone buzzed again. Josh, she's at your house. I frowned. That was unexpected. Desperate, but unexpected. I wiped the sweat off my forehead, grabbed my keys, and drove back home. Sure enough, there she was. Standing on my porch, arms crossed, sunglasses covering what I knew were red, puffy eyes. She turned as I got out of the car. We need to talk. I didn't answer. Just walked past her, unlocking the door. Ethan, she snapped, her voice edged with panic. Don't ignore me. I stepped inside, leaving the door open just enough for her to follow. She did. Slamming the door behind her, she threw her sunglasses onto the counter. I don't deserve this. I scoffed, tossing my keys onto the table. You don't deserve what, Natalie? This. The lawsuit. The frozen accounts. The humiliation. She took a step closer. You're trying to destroy me. I turned to her, my expression unreadable. No, I'm making sure you don't destroy anyone else. She huffed, running a hand through her hair. Ethan, you're taking this too far. We had a life together. I was your wife. No, I shook my head. You were a fraud. Her eyes flickered with some guilt? Fear? It didn't matter. She bit her lip, hesitating. Then, suddenly, she changed tactics. I still love you. Her voice softened, her posture shifting. You're the only one who ever truly cared about me. I was stupid, okay? I made a mistake. But we can fix this. I laughed. Actually laughed. She blinked, stunned. What's so funny? I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. You don't love me, Natalie. You love security. And now that your little fantasy with Dave is over, you think you can crawl back here and pretend like nothing happened. Her face twisted in frustration. That's not it. Save it. I stepped closer, towering over her now. I'm done being your backup plan. You walked out of that door without looking back. That was your choice. And now, I'm making mine. She swallowed hard. What do you mean? I exhaled slowly, then pulled out my phone, clicking a few buttons before turning the screen toward her. It was a bank notification. Her bank balance, $0. Her jaw dropped. You took everything? No, Natalie. I smiled. I just made sure you got exactly what you deserved. Her breathing became erratic. She grabbed the back of a chair for support, staring at me in disbelief. She had nothing. No home. No money. No lover. Just the wreckage of her own choices. You ruined my life, she whispered, her voice trembling. No, Natalie, I said, stepping past her toward the door. You ruined it yourself. She stood there, shaking, eyes darting around the room like she could somehow find a way out of this mess. But there was none. No escape. No lifeline. Just consequences. I opened the door, nodding toward it. Now get out. She didn't move at first, her body frozen in disbelief. Ethan. Get out. Her lip trembled, but she knew. She had lost. Without another word, she turned and walked out. I slammed the door behind her, locking it. Then I let out a long, slow breath, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. This was the end of Natalie. And the beginning of me. I don't care what anyone says, no man is ever ready for the moment he hears another guy lean over with a drink in his hand, smirk on his face, and whisper, I own her for this party. It was my wife's lover who said that. Right in front of me. At a party I never wanted to attend, surrounded by fake smiles, cheap champagne, and even cheaper morals. Her name's Ashley, and she was dressed like sin bottled into silk, low-cut black dress, red lipstick smeared into a promise, and heels high enough to step over whatever little dignity I had left. I didn't notice the signs at first. Or maybe I didn't want to. Because when you marry your college sweetheart, the girl who once cried on your shoulder after her dad died and swore she'd never leave your side, you don't think she'll be the one to destroy you. The party was at this sleek downtown penthouse. Jason, my business partner, had invited us, said it was a networking thing, lots of investors, good opportunity. What he didn't say was that it was also the stomping ground for people with no boundaries. A place where loyalty was just a punchline and relationships died behind closed doors. Ashley was glued to her phone the whole way up the elevator, laughing, typing fast. Her phone screen lit up with a message that read, "Don't forget who you belong to tonight." She turned it quick, but not quick enough. "What was that?" I asked, my voice low. "Nothing," she replied, almost bored. "Relax, Tyler. Not everything's about you." That should have been the moment I turned around, got back into the elevator, left. But I didn't. Because when you're in love with someone who's lying through their perfectly whitened teeth, you bargain with your gut feelings. You silence the alarms. The moment we stepped into the party, she changed. She wasn't my wife anymore. She was someone else entirely. Flirty, loud, laughing at jokes that weren't funny, touching shoulders, whispering in ears. And then I'm tall, tan, perfect teeth, and a Rolex that probably cost more than our car. His name was Derek, and the way he looked at Ashley made my stomach twist. Like she was a thing. His thing. I stood a few feet away, pretending to be interested in some conversation about cryptocurrency. When I saw it happen, her hand slid into his. Like it belonged there. His thumb circled her palm, slow, possessive. Then he leaned into my ear. Didn't even bother pretending to whisper to someone else. "I own her for this party." I blinked. Thought I misheard. "Excuse me," I said, turning to him fully now. He grinned. Didn't flinch. "Ashley knows what this is. I take care of her. She shows up. We have fun. Your name might be on the marriage license, man, but tonight, she's mine." I froze. Every noise around me muted. People were laughing, dancing, drinking, but all I heard was the ringing in my ears. All I saw was her, smiling at him, whispering into his neck, like I didn't even exist. I walked straight up to her. "Ashley, can we talk?" She barely looked at me. "Can it wait?" "No, it really can't." Her jaw clenched. "Ugh. Tyler, seriously? Can you not make a scene? It's one night. Why are you always so dramatic?" Derek laughed behind me. "He's not built for this world, Ash." She put a hand on his chest, calming him like he was the victim. I turned and walked out of the room. I stood on that balcony for 10 minutes, just staring into the city. My fists clenched, my heart pounding in my ears. Everything blurry. It didn't even feel real. But it was. My wife wasn't mine anymore. And this was just the beginning. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even go home. I sat in my car, parked 2 blocks away from the penthouse, watching the glow of the building like it was some kind of lighthouse for betrayal. Around 3 a.m., I saw her come out. Alone. Makeup smudged, heels in her hand, walking like nothing had happened. I followed her home. Quiet. No headlights. No questions. She walked in and went straight to bed, like a perfectly normal wife returning from a harmless night out. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table while she poured herself coffee like it was any other Thursday. She didn't look at me. "You gonna talk to me now?" I asked. She didn't blink. "About what?" I laughed. It was bitter and cracked. "About Derek. About you being his for the night." Her hand froze midair, coffee cup trembling just slightly. "You misunderstood." "No, Ashley," I said, standing slowly. "I heard him say it. I saw your hands. I saw your smile. Don't gaslight me." She rolled her eyes. Actually rolled her eyes. "Are you really going to be this insecure? You always do this. Always blowing everything out of proportion. You embarrass me, Tyler." That word. Embarrass. Like I was the problem. Like her rubbing up against some rich prick in front of me wasn't worth discussing. I stepped closer. "Are you sleeping with him?" She smirked. Define sleeping. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't scared. She wasn't even pretending to lie well anymore. That smirk was the start of my unraveling. "I work all day. I built this house. I pay the bills. I've stayed loyal while you have bored me to death." Her voice sliced clean through my chest. "You think being a provider is enough? You come home tired, grumpy, too drained to even look at me. Meanwhile, Derek makes me feel like a woman. He notices me. You just exist." I stared at her, mouth open, words failing. "And don't act like you're some saint, Tyler. You think loyalty means anything if there's no passion? No adventure? You're like a roommate I never asked for." I couldn't believe it. After everything. After years of supporting her through college, her career experiments, her anxiety attacks, her tantrums, I stood by her through every mess, and this was my reward? She sipped her coffee, dead calm. "You're a real piece of work, you know that?" I muttered, my voice low now, dangerous even to my own ears. She leaned back against the counter, cocked her head. "You don't have the balls to leave me." She meant it. every word soaked in venom. And in that moment, she was right. I didn't have the balls. Not yet. Because I wasn't done watching her fall. That night, while she slept beside me like nothing was broken, I opened her phone. I knew her password. She never bothered to change it, because in her mind, she was untouchable. Messages, pictures, voice notes, all from Derek. All filthier than I could have imagined. There were things I didn't even know she liked. Things she never wanted to try with me. She called him names in those texts. Dirty names. Said things like, Tyler still thinks I'm loyal, LOL. And he exists so I don't have to work. That's it. I stared at the screen like I'd seen a ghost crawl out of my chest. My wife didn't just cheat. She replaced me. And I was done playing nice. I took screenshots. Saved everything. Sent copies to my email. Hers too. I even printed a few out, just for the drama. The next day, I walked into our shared office. She was on a Zoom call, laughing with her team. I stood behind her, placed the printed messages on her keyboard, and watched her face melt in real time. Tyler, what the hell, eh? Carry on, I said. Just making sure everyone sees who you really are. She lunged for the papers. Too late. Her assistant, Mia, had already seen the first line. Ashley's cheeks turned red. Then white. You're insane, she hissed. No, Ashley. I'm awake now. And I walked out. That was just step one. What came next? She never saw it coming. Ashley tried calling me 12 times that night. Left voicemails that started angry, then slid into sobbing, then ended in threats. I didn't answer. I was sitting in a hotel room 20 minutes away, watching the digital clock tick toward midnight, listening to the quiet hum of a minibar fridge and the distant sound of my own heart crawling back together, piece by piece. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't broken, God knows I was, but because I didn't want to waste even one tear on her. Not anymore. The next morning, I met with my lawyer, James. Cool guy. No small talk, just the kind of sharp-eyed divorce attorney who knows how to carve through people like butter. I handed him the screenshots, the printed messages, even the call logs between her and Derek. He flipped through them, nodded. You want to go scorched earth? I didn't even blink. Salt the F********************* ing ground. James smirked. Then let's get to work. Later that day, I went back to the house not to talk, not to fight, but to retrieve my things and make sure she saw what the beginning of her end looked like. She was sitting at the kitchen island, hair tied up, sipping green juice like some rich housewife who'd never known chaos. The minute she saw me walk in with a box in hand, her expression shifted from smug to suspicious. So this is it? She asked, voice sharp. No, I said. This is the start. She stood, trying to tower over me, like her posture could undo the truth. You're seriously going to throw away everything? Over a few texts? I stared at her. Ashley, you're the human version of a virus. Oh, please. Like you're some perfect angel. She snapped. You're just bitter because someone finally treated me the way I deserve to be treated. I laughed in her face. By calling you his property? By telling me he owns you for the night? That's what you think you deserve. You wouldn't understand, she hissed. Because you don't know how to make a woman feel powerful. No, Ashley, I said slowly, I know how to make a woman feel safe. You just preferred feeling owned. She slapped me, right across the cheek. Not hard enough to hurt, but enough to confirm every instinct I'd been pushing down for the last year. I stood there, calm, like I'd been waiting for that moment just to close the chapter. You just gave me even more leverage in court, I said, picking up my box and walking away. The next week was a blur of paperwork, silence, and more revelations. Turns out Derek wasn't her only connection. There were others. Guys from her gym. Some client she said she met at a charity event. Even her married boss, Calvin, who I'd shaken hands with 3 times. She had a whole second life. While I was buying groceries and scheduling date nights, she was sending hotel room keys via DMs and calling herself bored and married but adventurous. I didn't know whether to throw up or laugh. Maybe both. Then came the night she tried to play the victim. She showed up at my hotel, mascara running, rain in her hair, and this pathetic whimper in her voice. Ty, can we just talk? I didn't say a word. Just held the door open enough for her to think she had a chance, and then let it slam in her face. I heard her scream behind the door. Then the pounding. Then the silence. I leaned my back against the door and breathed for the first time in weeks. The next day, she sent me a message. I hope you're happy. You destroyed everything. And for the first time in a long while, I smiled. Because it wasn't me who destroyed anything. She lit the match. I just watched it burn. A few days after that, Ashley tried a new angle, sweetness. She started sending long texts in the middle of the night, carefully written to sound apologetic but filled with subtle jabs. Like she couldn't quite help herself. Like every apology came with a barb. I miss you, Tyler. I know I made mistakes, but you weren't exactly emotionally available either. Derek meant nothing. It was just attention. I was lonely, and you were always working. Don't throw everything away over one stupid night. One night? As if that was all it was. As if betrayal only counted when it was physical. I didn't reply. I didn't even read past the first lines anymore. I just forwarded them to James, my lawyer, and kept moving. Then she tried guilt. She showed up at my sister Claire's house, crying, asking if she could explain herself, telling Claire how much she loved me and regretted everything. Claire, God bless her, didn't let her pass the porch. She told Ashley, you cheated on my brother in front of his face and called it nothing. Stay gone. Ashley stormed off and sent me a text 5 minutes later. Your sister's a jealous B***H. No wonder you're so emotionally stunted. That was Ashley. Always the victim. Always someone else's fault. She'd rewrite the narrative so fast it made your head spin. First, I was too boring. Then I was too busy. Then I was too sensitive. Then too cold. She'd switch masks faster than a stage actor with a spotlight on her lies. Meanwhile, I kept working. Focused. Quiet. James handled the divorce paperwork like a surgeon, carving cleanly through assets, freezing joint accounts, compiling evidence. The more we dug, the more we found. She had taken money. Small withdrawals over time. Venmo payments to names I didn't recognize. Private purchases listed as business meals and therapy sessions. One day, James looked up from the folder and said, you sure you didn't already divorce her emotionally a year ago? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Emotionally? She'd left long before Derek ever showed up. Then came the party. Not another one for Ashley, but one for me. Claire insisted on throwing a small get-together. Just family. A few close friends. Something light, she said. Something to remind me I was still human. And I swear I wanted to stay home. Hide. But I went. I wore black. Clean shave. No fake smile. And halfway through the night, someone tapped my shoulder. Tyler. I turned and nearly lost my breath. Emily. We dated back in high school. The girl I never stopped thinking about after we drifted. She'd moved to another state, got married, had a daughter, got divorced, and moved back. Now she stood there holding a glass of white wine and wearing the softest expression I'd seen in what felt like forever. I heard about Ashley, she said gently. Everyone did, I muttered. She didn't laugh. She didn't offer fake comfort. She just looked at me like she saw me, really saw me. We talked for hours that night. She asked questions. She didn't try to fix me. She didn't tell me to forgive or forget or move on. She just listened. And then, at the end of the night, she said something I'll never forget. Don't let her ruin how you see love. She broke you. Don't let her keep you broken. That line stuck. Because Ashley had taken enough from me. My peace. My trust. My sleep. My faith and commitment. But I refused to let her take love from me. Not forever. Weeks passed. The court date came and went. Ashley showed up looking like a shell of herself, pale, shaky, bitter. Derek was nowhere in sight. Rumor had it he'd moved on to someone else. Younger. Hotter. Less complicated. She tried to flash a sad smile in court. I didn't return it. She left with less than she expected. James made sure of that. Her crocodile tears couldn't save her. Not this time. And when the judge finalized the divorce, I walked out of that courtroom with nothing but a small folder and the weight of freedom on my shoulders. Ashley texted one last time. You'll regret this someday. I was the best thing that ever happened to you. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I deleted it. And for the first time in a long time, I breathed without pain. It's strange how silence becomes a friend after chaos. The night stopped being battles in my head. I didn't wake up drenched in sweat anymore, dreaming of her voice in that penthouse, of Derek's smirk, of the word, own. Everything began to dull, like someone slowly turned the volume down on the noise she left behind. I started going back to the gym. Not to get revenge, not for a revenge body or any of that dumb Instagram nonsense. I went because the weight was something I could control. Barbells didn't lie. Miles didn't gaslight you. Pull-ups didn't disappear into someone else's arms while you were making dinner. Claire introduced me to her neighbor, Nick, a quiet divorced dad who worked in tech. We bonded fast. He'd been through his own war. His ex-wife had cleaned out his bank account and left him for her yoga instructor. We laughed hard the first time, he said. At least yours didn't make you pay for couples therapy after sleeping with half the staff. Somehow, in the middle of all that, Emily and I kept texting. At first, it was casual. Safe. A few memes, some late-night movie recommendations, photos of her kid painting on the kitchen walls, her messy hair, her soft eyes that never tried to impress. One night, she asked, "Do you still believe in love?" I stared at the screen for 5 minutes before replying. "I believe in second chances. Not in people, but maybe in feelings." She sent back a heart. No pressure. No expectations. Just a quiet acknowledgement that she understood. Meanwhile, Ashley was slipping. Word got around that Derek dumped her after she sent him some kind of ultimatum. She tried going back to her old job, but they let her go. Something about inappropriate conduct and office policy violations. Claire bumped into her at the mall and told me she looked like hell. Cheap extensions. Fake nails cracked at the tips. One of those forced tans that made her skin look like burnt paper. Ashley texted me again. "I'm not okay. I messed everything up. Can we at least talk as friends?" I didn't respond. I wasn't being cold. I was just done. She didn't deserve a second draft of me. But I wasn't angry anymore. That surprised me. I wasn't plotting revenge. I wasn't fantasizing about slamming doors or throwing her phone into the ocean. I wasn't thinking about what Derek had that I didn't. That part of me, jealous, hurt, furious, it burned out. Instead, I remembered the man I was before her. The guy who laughed too loud. Who believed people meant what they said. Who never flinched when someone said forever. I started seeing glimpses of him in the mirror again. One evening, I picked up Emily and we drove out of the city. No destination, just winding roads and the windows down. Her daughter was asleep in the back seat, clutching a half-eaten cookie, and Emily looked at me with this quiet smile. "You don't flinch when I talk about the past," she said. "I've made peace with ghosts," I replied. "Even hers?" I looked out at the road, then back at her. "She's not a ghost. Ghosts are dead. She's just irrelevant now." Emily reached across the center console, took my hand, and we drove the rest of the way in silence. I didn't think I'd ever be okay again. But I was wrong. Not only did I heal, I evolved. Ashley thought she'd broken me. What she did was unlock the man I was always meant to become. Stronger, sharper, quieter, but not bitter. The kind of man who could lose everything and still look in the mirror and see someone worth saving. She'll always be the cautionary tale in my story. But I'm the damn redemption arc. A few months passed like that: quiet mornings, slow evenings, clean routines. No more walking on eggshells. No more waiting for her mood to decide mine. I started to enjoy the stillness. I'd open the blinds in the morning, feel the sunlight on my face, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was in someone else's story. One Sunday afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered, and there she was. Ashley. Her voice was soft. Too soft. Like someone practicing sorrow in the mirror. "Tyler," she whispered. "Can we talk for a minute?" I leaned back in my chair, looking out the window. Birds were fighting over breadcrumbs on the railing. I could have hung up. Should have. But curiosity is a funny thing. Especially when you know the person on the other end doesn't expect kindness. "You've got 60 seconds, I said. "I've been seeing someone to talk to. A therapist." I said nothing. I realized I was angry at myself for settling down too young. And I took it out on you. That wasn't fair. Still silent. "I guess I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know." I waited. Let the silence fill the air until she spoke again. "Do you hate me?" she asked. I took a breath. Let it sit. "No. Hating you would mean I still care." The silence on her end was loud. Heavy. Then she said the thing I was expecting and dreading. "I miss you." There it was. That pathetic little hook, baited with nostalgia and wrapped in self-pity. "You don't miss me, Ashley," I said. "You miss the version of me who tolerated you." Click. I didn't block her. Didn't need to. That was the last time I heard from her. By then, Emily and I had started seeing each other more often. No labels. No pressure. Just dinners, walks, real conversations. Sometimes her daughter, Lily, would crawl up next to me on the couch while we watched cartoons, and she'd call me Ty-Ty with sticky fingers and big trusting eyes. I never thought I'd want to be around kids. But she made it easy. One night, Emily asked me, "If you could go back, would you change anything?" I thought about it. About the years I wasted. About the nights I sat alone in my own marriage. About that party. About the text messages. About her calling me boring. About Derek. No, I said finally. Because if I changed it, I wouldn't be sitting here with you. She smiled. That small, honest kind of smile that doesn't ask for anything in return. And that's when I knew I'd won. Not because I got revenge. Not because I found someone new. But because I survived her and didn't lose myself in the process. Ashley thought she could shatter me and move on. But I turned the shards into armor. I became someone she'll never deserve to know again. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I got an invitation in the mail. A wedding invitation. Not mine. Ashley's. It was printed on thick, overpriced paper with gold trim and a wax seal like she was royalty. Her name, Ashley Monroe, still carried my last name, though I knew it wouldn't for long. Beneath it, Derek Morrison. I stared at it for a while, just blinking. The date was 2 months away. Location, Napa Valley. Dress code, formal. At the bottom, it read, "Let love always win." I laughed out loud. A sharp, bitter bark of a laugh that echoed off my kitchen walls. Love? This wasn't love. It was branding. A desperate attempt to convince the world that what she did had some noble, poetic purpose. That the man who whispered, "I own her for this party," now suddenly represented forever. I didn't go. Of course not. But part of me was curious. Not to see her, God no. But to see how far she'd pretend to have come. I knew someone would send pictures. And they did. Claire forwarded me a few she'd found online. Ashley standing in a tight white gown, kissing Derek like she just secured a business deal. Everything about it looked staged. From the perfect lighting to the forced laughter of their guests, it all screamed, "Look at us, we're happy now. This is what victory looks like." But I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. I felt free. Because I could finally see it clearly, her life was just one long performance. Always playing the part of the adored, the envied, the irreplaceable. And Derek? He was just the latest prop. Meanwhile, my life was getting real again. Emily and I took a road trip with Lily that summer. We didn't post it online. No filters. No hashtags. Just the three of us, singing badly to old music, stopping at roadside diners, watching Lily fall asleep in the back seat with chocolate ice cream on her chin. One night, while sitting on the porch of a little cabin we'd rented, Emily said, "You don't talk about her anymore." I looked up at the stars and thought about it. Because there's nothing left to say. And I meant it. Ashley was a storm that passed. Violent, chaotic, unforgettable, but done. And what came after was quiet. Real. Steady. I stopped needing closure. Because sometimes, the absence of someone is the closure. I never replied to the wedding invite, never sent a message, never reached out again. Let her think what she wants. Let her tell whatever story helps her sleep at night. The truth? She lost me the second she let someone else own her for a party. And I found myself the moment I realized I deserved better than someone who thought that was okay. Now, when I wake up, I don't wonder where she is. I don't check my phone. I don't brace myself for lies. I wake up to peace, to possibility, to love that doesn't need proof. And that, more than anything, is my revenge. It ended not with fire, not with a final fight, but with stillness. No big speech. No dramatic goodbye. Just a quiet understanding that we had become strangers who used to share a life. Ashley faded like background noise in a song I stopped listening to. And for the first time, I didn't miss the chaos. I moved into a smaller place. Nothing fancy, just clean, warm, and mine. A bookshelf with only the books I actually read. A kitchen that didn't echo with silence. No ghost of her perfume lingering in the air. No staged smiles hiding cold eyes. I spent weekends with people who knew how to speak without masks. I called my parents more. I started painting again badly, but with joy. I even adopted a dog from the shelter. Named him Chance, because that's what he was. A reminder that you can start over and build something real from the wreckage. Emily and I took it slow. She never tried to fix me, never rushed anything. She let me heal at my own pace. Some nights, I'd catch her watching me, like she was waiting to see if I'd flinch when someone said the word forever. But I didn't. I wasn't afraid of love. I was just done confusing it with possession. One night, we were lying in bed, lights off, our fingers tangled beneath the covers, and she whispered, "Do you ever think about her?" I turned my head, kissed her temple, and said, "Not anymore. Not even when I try." And that was the truth. Ashley became a scar. A deep one, but healed. She'll always be part of the story, sure. But no longer the plot. No longer the author. If you're reading this, and you're where I was, doubting yourself, replaying conversations, wondering if you're crazy, you're not. You're just waking up. Let her go. Let the lies fall. Let the silence in. It won't break you. It'll save you. Because no matter how dark it gets, you'll always crawl out stronger, wiser, and quieter. And one day, you'll stand across from someone who looks at you not like you're a possession, but like your home. When I returned home for Thanksgiving, the lights were off. Cold air hung in the hallway like something had died and nobody noticed. I called out, "Jess," but all I got back was silence and the faint buzz of the fridge. I dropped my duffel by the door, confused as hell. This was supposed to be our weekend. I had driven 12 hours straight just to surprise her. She had no clue I was coming home early. I imagined she'd throw herself at me the moment I walked in. Instead, there was a note taped to the microwave. Her handwriting. Curvy, pretentious, and irritatingly neat. Gone to a show with my ex. We want to catch up. So I'll let you experience caregiving. Grandma's in the back. Happy Thanksgiving. Jess. I read it twice. Then I laughed. That slow, bitter laugh that slips out before your brain has time to fully understand you've just been spat on by the one person who swore she'd never hurt you. My eyes stung, but I blinked the emotion back. The house was too damn quiet. I walked toward the guest bedroom, and there she was, Jess's grandma, Florence, wrapped in 3 blankets, looking like a fragile piece of porcelain waiting to shatter. Then she stood up. Sharp. Awake. "Shall we begin?" she said. I nodded, completely numb. 5 days later. I hadn't slept. I hadn't eaten much. Florence was sweet, but she needed help with everything: walking, dressing, even going to the damn bathroom. Meanwhile, Jess didn't call, didn't text. Radio silence. Until 3:42 a.m. that morning. Her name lit up my phone like a disease. Jess. Hey babe. Sorry, the trip went longer than expected. You good? I stared at the message for 10 minutes before locking my phone. Trip? She left me with her elderly grandmother on Thanksgiving to catch up with Zach, her ex. The same Zach she said she couldn't stand because he smelled like gym socks and entitlement. I tried calling. She didn't answer. Then, as if karma wanted to drop the final blow, Florence asked me to get her charger. Said it fell behind Jess's nightstand. I went upstairs. Her perfume still lingered in the air. The scent of wild cherries and deceit. When I pulled the charger out, something else came with it. A receipt. Crumpled. Hotel Zeta. 3 nights. King suite. 1-room service bottle. Prosecco. Room for 2. Fancy enough to celebrate something. Or someone. My throat tightened. I flipped the paper over. A napkin was tucked behind it, smudged with lipstick, and written in that same fake, swoopy handwriting. Thank you for 3 nights of making me feel like a woman again. You always knew how to handle me. Jay. I felt the oxygen leave the room. This wasn't just betrayal. It was deliberate. Cold-blooded. She planned this while I was working overtime to pay for the damn heating repair she begged for last month. My hands trembled. I punched the pillow so hard the seams tore. It didn't help. Nothing helped. I waited until sunrise, staring out the kitchen window, watching the frost grow across the glass like veins. My chest felt hollow, like someone carved out everything I believed in and left me with a shell. At 6:03 a.m., the door unlocked. She walked in. Messy hair. Tight jeans. That smug little smirk she wore when she knew she'd gotten away with something. Hey, babe. Oh my God. I'm so exhausted, she said like nothing happened. Grandma still breathing? She dropped her bag at the door and poured herself a glass of orange juice. Didn't even look at me. I just stood there, holding the napkin. The receipt. All of it. She finally glanced up. What? She asked, mid-sip. You wrote him a love note, I said quietly. Her face changed. Just slightly. A flicker of awareness. Then she laughed. She laughed. Oh, come on, Logan. Don't be dramatic. It was just nostalgia. Nothing happened. 3 nights. 1 king bed. Prosecco. And nothing happened. I asked, my voice rising like a tide. She rolled her eyes. You really want to do this now? After 5 days of playing babysitter? I did you a favor. You got to learn responsibility. That was it. No apology. No shame. Just venom wrapped in sarcasm. I stepped closer. You went back to the guy who cheated on you. The guy you cried about for years. And now you're handing him champagne and thank you notes while I'm wiping your grandmother's mouth and cooking her oatmeal. She smirked. At least Zach makes me feel alive. You make me feel like a school teacher. Always so serious. So boring. Boom. There it was. Not guilt. Not regret. Just a slap made of words. Something broke in me then. And I knew I wasn't going to cry in front of her. I wasn't going to scream or beg or try to fix anything. I was going to end this, but not like she expected. I didn't say a word, just turned around and walked out of the kitchen. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clearer than it had been in days. I grabbed my phone, went to the garage, and sat in the car with the engine off, staring at the wall. I needed space, 5 minutes where I wasn't breathing the same air as her. Jess had always had this talent, twisting the truth until you questioned your own sanity. Gaslighting wrapped in perfume and lipstick. But this time, I had evidence. Cold, ink-stained, undeniable. And still, she stood there smug as hell, sipping orange juice like she hadn't just crushed me. My phone buzzed. Florence, she's gone upstairs. Don't know what to say. Even her grandmother knew something was off. I went back inside 20 minutes later. Jess was on the bed, scrolling through her phone, legs crossed, humming to herself like she was the queen of the damn world. I stood at the door. We're done, I said flatly. She didn't look up. You're being overly emotional, Logan. No, I said. You walked out on Thanksgiving to go to a hotel with your ex, left me to take care of your grandma, and didn't even bother to lie properly. You don't get to call me emotional. She smirked and tossed her phone aside. What? You want a divorce now? Over this? Grow up. People take breaks. It's not a big deal. I stepped in. No. People in love don't take breaks in hotel suites with their exes. People who care don't leave notes and disappear for 5 days. You knew what you were doing, Jess. She sat up, crossed her arms, and said the most vile thing I'd ever heard come out of her mouth. If I wanted to cheat, I could have done it years ago. I stayed loyal longer than I should have. You stopped being fun. You stopped surprising me. Zach reminded me what it's like to be wanted. That hit me harder than any slap could have. I stood there, frozen, watching the person I had once loved morph into a stranger before my eyes. Cold. Shameless. Like none of this even scratched the surface of her conscience. I gave you everything, I whispered. Even when I was drained. Even when I hated myself for how little you gave back. And that's your fault, she snapped. I didn't ask for all of that. I never made you give anything. You didn't have to ask. That's what love is, Jess. She rolled her eyes again and turned away, like she was already done with this conversation, already back in her little fantasy world where I was the villain and Zach was her savior. I'll pack your things, I said. You've got until tomorrow. No, Logan, she said with a grin. You pack yours. This is my house. Remember whose name is on the lease. The words knocked the wind out of me. And she was right. When we moved in together, I was in between jobs, and she had the credit. The lease was in her name. She always held that over me like a loaded gun. I turned and walked away, went straight to the spare room and locked the door behind me. Sat on the floor like some broken animal, staring at the wall, trying to make sense of how this woman, this girl I thought was the one, had just shredded me in seconds. I didn't cry, but my hands were clenched so tight, my knuckles went white. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept picturing her. Not with me. With him. Laughing. Whispering. Twisting around his body like she used to with mine. And then I remembered her face when I told her I loved her the first time. Soft. Vulnerable. Real. I missed that version of her. But now, she was gone. Whoever this cold-hearted snake was lying upstairs, it wasn't Jess. It was a shell. A liar. A cheater. A woman who couldn't even fake remorse. At 4 a.m., I started packing. Quiet. Controlled. Methodical. Every shirt folded with fury. Every pair of socks wrapped in silent rage. I didn't care about what I left behind. I just wanted to be gone before she woke up. I even left the ring on the counter, right next to the receipt she thought she hid so well. When the sun started rising, I opened the front door, duffel over my shoulder, ready to go. That's when I heard her voice from upstairs. Don't forget to leave the garage remote, babe. Just like that. Mocking. Cruel. Drenched in sarcasm. I didn't even look back. But my mind was already planning something. This wasn't over. Not yet. The drive to my brother's place was mostly a blur. Roads passed like ghosts, and every red light felt like a punch to the chest. I didn't even bother with music. Just the sound of the engine, and my own thoughts bouncing around like broken glass inside my skull. I didn't tell Caleb everything right away. He opened the door, took one look at my face, and said, "You look like S***T. Feel worse," I replied, walking in without a suitcase because I didn't even pack one. Just a duffel with a few shirts, my toothbrush, and the remnants of my pride. He didn't ask questions. Just handed me a beer and said, "Sit. Talk when you're ready." But I wasn't ready. Not yet. Because even though I was gone physically, mentally, I was still back in that house, replaying every scene with just like a movie where the villain had been standing center stage the whole damn time and I just hadn't noticed. 2 days passed. I didn't call her. She didn't call me. Until Sunday night. I was on the porch, staring at nothing, when my phone lit up. Jess, so, are you done being dramatic? That was it. No, I'm sorry. No, can we talk? Just that same tone she always used when she wanted control again. I stared at the message. My thumb hovered over the reply button. Then I tossed the phone onto the chair beside me and walked back inside. Later that night, I cracked. I opened my laptop and did something I hadn't planned on. I looked up Zach. His Instagram was still public, because of course it was. The guy always needed attention like oxygen. And there she was. Jess. In a photo. Perched on his lap like a trophy, drink in hand. Red lipstick back in place like nothing had happened. The caption? Some things are worth repeating. It felt like acid down my throat. She wasn't even hiding it. She wanted me to see it. I closed the laptop and just sat there, fist clenched on my knees, heart pounding so loud I could feel it in my teeth. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. The next day, I called my lawyer friend from college, Derek. I told him everything. Lease. Bank account. Shared insurance. I wanted a plan, even if we weren't married. I wasn't about to let this woman use me as a doormat and walk away clean. Derek was quiet for a while, then said, "You sure you want to do this?" "I'm not sure of anything," I said. "But I'm not staying silent." That same night, Caleb helped me draft a message to her. Not an apology. Not a threat. Just facts. "You'll receive notice this week that the joint account is closed. Don't touch my mail. You'll also receive a box with anything of yours I found at my office. And no, I don't want to talk. I want space. Permanent space." She replied 20 minutes later. "Jess, wow, you're really acting like the victim." That was the last straw. Because I was the victim. And she didn't even have the decency to pretend otherwise. The next few days blurred into one long blur of signatures, paperwork, and unlearning old routines. I stopped checking her socials, stopped wondering where she was, and started figuring out who I was before her. Caleb and I started running again. Just small laps around the block. We'd finish each run with him clapping my back and saying, "You're shaking her off." 1 mile at a time. And it worked. Slowly. Painfully. But it worked. Until one night, about a week later, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. I picked up. "Logan," a familiar voice said. It was Florence. Jess's grandma. "I just wanted to say," she paused. "I know what she did. And I'm sorry." I closed my eyes. That one call shattered me more than any message Jess could have sent. "Thanks," I said quietly. She thinks she's invincible now. But life has a way of teaching people like her. I just wanted you to know that you didn't deserve it. None of it. And for the first time in weeks, I cried. Not out of weakness, but out of release. And that night, I finally slept. But the story wasn't over. Because what came next? I never saw coming. I woke up to the sound of banging on the front door. 6:13 a.m. Way too early for anything good. I cracked the door open, shirtless, I still half glued shut from sleep. What I saw made my blood run cold. Jess. Hair tied up in a loose bun. Hoodie over pajamas. No makeup. Barefoot. And crying. Not the manipulative kind. Real, messy, ugly crying. The kind that made her look like a stranger holding a storm in her chest. "Logan," she whispered, barely able to look me in the eyes. "Can we talk?" I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Caleb was still sleeping inside, and I didn't want him hearing any of this. "You've got 5 minutes," I said, arms crossed. She nodded, wiping her eyes, and for a moment I saw a flicker of the woman I used to love. Not the bitter version that spit venom, but the scared girl who used to fall asleep on my chest when the world felt too heavy. "If ****, get up," she said. "I know that. I know I don't deserve your time. But I didn't expect it to feel this way. It was a mistake." I said nothing. She continued, "It wasn't what I thought. He's the same guy. All talk, all ego. And the second he got what he wanted, he vanished. I woke up in his apartment 2 days ago, and he was already gone. Left a note. Sound familiar?" I clenched my jaw. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked coldly. "Because," she said, voice shaking, "I've never felt this kind of emptiness. And I realized it wasn't because he left. It's because you're gone. Really gone." She took a step closer. "I miss you. I miss your voice. Your coffee. Your jokes. Your stupid playlist when we drove upstate. I thought I wanted something different. I thought excitement meant happiness. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. Her lip trembled. And then she reached into her pocket and pulled out the ring. My ring. The one I left on the kitchen counter. I kept it, she whispered. Every night I look at it and think about how badly I ruined the one thing in my life that was actually good. I should have felt something. Rage. Closure. Bitterness. But I didn't. I just felt empty. Because the truth was, I'd already mourned her. Not the girl standing in front of me, but the version of her that used to love me. That version died the day she packed a bag and left a note saying she was off to a show with her ex while I fed soup to her sick grandmother. I stared at the ring, then at her. Then I said, keep it. She blinked. What? I don't want it back. You can keep it. Bury it. Pawn it. I don't care. It's not mine anymore. I turned to go back inside, but she grabbed my arm. Logan, please, can't we just? I pulled my arm free gently, looked her dead in the eyes, and said, you made your choice. I made mine. You burned the bridge and tried to come back when the smoke got too thick. But there's nothing left to walk on. She didn't move, just stood there trembling. Then she asked, voice barely a whisper, do you hate me? I shook my head. No, that would mean I still care. And with that, I stepped back inside and closed the door. I heard her sob on the other side, but I didn't open it again. Later that day, Caleb made breakfast. Bacon, eggs, black coffee. He didn't ask what happened, just slid a plate in front of me and said, you did what most men couldn't. I looked up. What's that? You walked away from a storm without trying to fix it. That takes guts. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Because he was right. Jess had tried to come back, not because she loved me, but because she hated losing. There's a difference. And I wasn't going to be her consolation prize. Not now. Not ever. But that wasn't the end of her story. Not even close. Because 2 weeks later, I got a call from Florence again. And the words she said next changed everything. Logan. I didn't know who else to call, Florence said, her voice low and shaking. Jess is gone. Off. I mean really off. She showed up at the nursing home I moved into, screaming, crying, saying she needed to talk to me because everyone abandoned her. She knocked over a vase. Scared the hell out of the nurses. I sat down slowly at the kitchen table, heart starting to pound again. She what? She's unraveling, honey, Florence said. And I know she's no angel, God knows that now, but I'm worried. She doesn't have anyone else, and, well, she said some things I think you should hear. Things I don't understand. About money. About Zach. About someone following her. What do you mean following her? I asked sharply. She kept muttering something about a guy named Rico. That Zach owes him. That she thinks he's watching her now. I don't know, Logan. It could be drama. But the look in her eyes, she's scared. Not faking. Not performing. Scared. I rubbed my face, trying to make sense of it all. Jess had always been a liar, a manipulator, but paranoia? Strange names? Debt? This was new. Florence, I said slowly, do you think she's in real trouble? I think she doesn't even know how deep she's in. That boy Zach, he was always reckless. But now it sounds like he pulled her into something she can't handle. I sat there for a long time after the call ended, staring at the wall. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Let the mess she made bury her. Let Rico, or whoever the hell he was, deal with her lies and debts and crying breakdowns. But I couldn't. Not because I loved her. That was dead. But because I knew Jess better than anyone. And I knew the difference between her playing the victim and being one. Caleb walked in, halfway through a protein bar. You look like you saw a ghost. Jess is in trouble, I said, still trying to believe the words. Again. No. Like, real trouble. He raised a brow, but didn't say anything. I might need to drive over there. Just to see what the hell's going on. He sighed and tossed the bar in the trash. Want backup? No, I said. This one's on me. I didn't call her. Didn't warn her. Just got in my car and headed toward the apartment she moved into after I left. I wasn't sure what I expected. Maybe her curled up crying. Maybe a drunk mess. Maybe no one home. What I didn't expect was the front door slightly cracked open. I stopped cold. I knocked once, pushed it open, and stepped inside. Jess. I called out. No answer. The place was a wreck. Couch cushions on the floor, broken glass near the sink. Her laptop split open on the counter like someone had slammed it. Then I heard it. Whimpering. Soft. From the back bedroom. I moved fast. I pushed open the door and found her sitting on the floor, knees to her chest, mascara streaked down her face, holding a kitchen knife in one shaking hand like it was her last defense against the world. "Jess," I said carefully. "What happened?" She looked up, eyes wild, and whispered, "He was here. He was here, Logan. He said Zach owes him 20 grand. Said I have a week to find it or something bad happens. I don't even know this guy. I don't even know what Zach did." I kneeled beside her, slowly taking the knife from her fingers. "Where's Zach now?" She laughed. "Hollow. Ran. Disappeared. Of course. Left me with all of it." Everything about her was different now. The fire, the venom, the defiance, gone. Replaced with something raw and terrifying. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I thought I could handle it. I thought I was smarter than this." I didn't touch her. I didn't tell her it would be okay, because I didn't know if it would. But I knew one thing. She'd finally built her house of lies so high, it collapsed on top of her. And now I was standing in the ruins. But what came next? That was the most unexpected twist of all. I got her off the floor, hands trembling like she'd been out in the cold for days. She didn't resist. No smart remarks. No eye rolls. Just silence and small stumbles toward the kitchen where I sat her down and made her drink a glass of water. She kept looking over her shoulder, flinching at sounds outside, convinced someone was watching. "Tell me everything," I said. Just stared into her glass. Zach had this friend Rico. Not just some guy. Real dangerous. Deals in stuff. Zach borrowed money. A lot. Fast lifestyle, stupid decisions. I thought it was just partying. Maybe some side hustle. Turns out he owed money to cover product. I frowned. "Drugs?" She nodded. I paced the kitchen, trying to keep my pulse steady. "And now Rico thinks you have the cash?" "He said Zach left him my name," she said, voice flat. "That if I wanted to see Christmas, I'd better pay up." I told him I didn't have anything. He didn't care. Said I'm the insurance policy. I stared at her. "Why didn't you go to the cops?" She let out a bitter laugh. "And say what?" "Hi, officer. My ex-boyfriend who I cheated on my husband with owes drug money, and now a guy with a gun showed up in my apartment. That's not exactly a winning report." I didn't respond. She wasn't wrong. No one was going to touch this without hard proof, and Rico didn't sound like someone who left receipts behind. I looked around the apartment again. She had nothing of value. Maybe some jewelry, a busted MacBook, a handful of expensive purses she probably got on credit. No car. No savings. No friends left willing to pick up the phone. Except me. And only because I was too dumb or too human to let her sink completely. "Come with me," I said. She blinked. "What?" "I'm not leaving you here alone. I can't go to your brother's." "We're not going to Caleb's." Her eyes narrowed. "Then where?" "Somewhere Rico won't find you." She hesitated, then slowly stood, grabbed her phone, and followed me out without another word. We drove in silence for about 2 hours, far north, into a rural area where I knew an old friend of mine had a cabin he kept empty most of the year. I called him en route, told him it was personal. He didn't ask questions, just texted the code to the lockbox and said, "Handle your business." The place was small but secure. Tucked between trees, no neighbors close, no cameras, no digital trail. I parked and turned to Jess. "You'll stay here. No calls. No posts. No contact with Zach if he tries. I'll bring food, water, whatever you need. Just stay invisible." She stared at me, almost like she didn't recognize me anymore. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "After everything I did to you." I didn't look at her when I answered. "Because I won't let you get buried by the man you replaced me with." The silence stretched thick. Then she whispered, "I never thought it would end like this." "Neither did I said. She went inside without another word. I waited outside for a long time, staring at the woods, listening for a sound that never came, thinking about how far I'd come from broken husband to reluctant bodyguard of the woman who shattered me. And just when I thought I could finally breathe, my phone lit up. Unknown number. No name. No caller ID. Just one message. "She better not run, or you'll both wish she had." I stood there, staring at the screen, because this wasn't about Jess anymore. Now I was part of it. I stood there, bathed in the pale orange light leaking through the trees, phone clenched in my hand, staring at that message. She better not run. My pulse slowed, but not in a good way. It was that cold calm, like the kind you get before a fight, when your body's already made peace with the idea of getting hurt. I looked at the cabin, dim light glowing through the curtains. She was inside, probably curled up, maybe crying again, maybe still trying to figure out when the hole she dug got so deep. I walked a slow circle around the place, checked all the doors, windows, locked tight. Then I turned the porch light off and slid into the car parked down the slope of the hill. No point in driving back yet. If Rico had already found my number, it meant one of two things. Either Zach gave it to him, or Jess did. And if Jess gave it to him, on purpose or by accident, then I wasn't just helping someone who cheated on me. I was helping someone who might have sold me out without even knowing it. I tried to sleep in the car. Didn't work. At some point, I started thinking about Thanksgiving again. That first moment, I walked into the house, expecting warmth and dinner and her smile, and instead found Florence, a note, and a knife in the back disguised as a catch-up with her ex. It felt like years ago. I had loved Jess like an idiot. Blind, devoted, totally unwilling to believe she could be anything but tired, or stressed, or misunderstood. That love had made me stupid. Now it was just armor, dead and heavy, but still strapped to my chest. At sunrise, I left. Quiet. Careful. Didn't wake her. Left a burner phone on the counter with one number in it, mine. I drove back to town and stopped at Caleb's for coffee and a change of clothes. He looked me up and down as I walked in. She's still breathing? For now. He poured coffee into a chipped mug and handed it to me. I hope you got an endgame, man. Because this thing's starting to feel less like a breakup and more like the prologue to a Netflix crime doc. I smirked, sipped the coffee, and said, she got a threat. Now I've got one too. His jaw clenched. You need to go to the cops. Not yet. No real evidence. No real names. What about the message? It's from an unknown number. Could be a burner. Could be a bluff. He stared at me, quiet for a long moment. This chick. Jess. You still love her? I didn't answer right away. Then I said, I don't think I ever stopped. But I sure as hell don't want it anymore. He nodded slowly. That's the most honest thing you've said since you walked through my door with a duffel bag. I left half an hour later, phone full of new contacts, old favors I was ready to cash in. PI buddies from college. Guys who owed me. A few cops I used to know when I worked security in the city. If Rico wanted to scare me, fine. But I'd been humiliated, lied to, abandoned, and spit on by the one person I trusted most, and I survived that. This wasn't fear anymore. This was planning. By noon, I had 3 names connected to Rico. One of them ran a tattoo parlor on the edge of town. The kind that didn't advertise but always had cars parked outside and music shaking the sidewalk. I showed up around one. Walked inside like I was looking for a quote on a sleeve. The guy at the front counter, built like a linebacker, nose crooked from too many fights, looked up and said, help you? Yeah, I said. Looking for someone. Guy named Rico. He blinked, just once, then smiled. Never heard of him. Strange, I said. Because I heard this place is where he sends his welcome messages. The smile dropped. He leaned forward, slow and deliberate. You lost, man. No. But I think Rico is. The guy's eyes darkened. His fingers drummed the desk like he was deciding how badly he wanted to hurt me. Then he nodded once, said nothing, and walked into the back room. I didn't wait. I turned and left, fast but controlled. As I reached the car, I could feel it in my gut. This was bigger than Jess. Bigger than Zach's debts or threats or failed flings. Someone was pulling strings. And they just noticed I was standing on the stage. That night, I returned to the cabin. Jess was waiting by the window. Pale. Nervous. Eyes bloodshot. You were gone a long time, she said. I had errands. You got more of those messages? I nodded. Yeah. And I found the source. She looked down. What do we do? I stepped closer. Looked her dead in the eyes. We stopped being scared. Because the storm was coming. And I was done running. Just stood there, trembling, arms wrapped around herself like that would protect her from what was coming. Her bravado, her smirks, the toxic confidence she wore like perfume, it was all gone. And for the first time in years, maybe for the first time ever, I saw her exactly as she was, a scared, broken woman who pushed everyone away, and now had no one left to call. Except me. She asked, are you sure we can fight this? I didn't answer right away. I was thinking about the message. The eyes behind it. Rico wasn't just some street punk with a gun and bad breath. He was connected, organized, and he didn't bluff. But I wasn't the same man she left behind. That version of me died when I found her lipstick-stained napkin thanking Zach for her, making her feel like a woman again. What stood in his place now was someone quieter, smarter, dangerous, even. Because once you've been burned to ash, you stop fearing fire. We don't have to fight it, I finally said. We just have to end it. Her eyes snapped up. What do you mean? I mean I set a trap, I said. And if Rico bites, he's done. I told her everything. The private investigator I called. The fake message I sent back from the burner phone, pretending I had Zach tied up in a basement and would trade him for silence. The time and location. The camera I planted. The quiet promise I made to myself that if anyone showed up, they weren't walking away clean. Her jaw dropped. You're serious? As a heart attack. Just walked over to the couch and sat down slowly. So, what happens now? I checked my watch. In 30 minutes, we find out how stupid Rico really is. We parked across the road from the meeting spot, an abandoned construction site where I used to sneak off to drink with friends in high school. I could see the rusted beams sticking out like broken bones. And tucked under them, right where I said Zach would be, a black SUV. 2 men. One of them had a chain around his neck thicker than his neck itself. The other? Tall, lean, mean posture. Rico. Just tense beside me in the passenger seat. That's him, she whispered. That's the guy. Good, I said. Then let's make sure he gets what he came for. I hit record on the camera zoomed in from the dash, synced it with the mic we'd planted under the beam, and waited. Rico paced. Zach. He shouted into the open space. You little piece of garbage. You better be here. You think hiding behind your HX and her loser husband's gonna save you? Just flinched at that. I didn't react. Rico kept going. Logan, if you're here, I got no beef with you, man. Just give me the money or the body. I don't care which. That was it. That was the line I needed. Just give me the money or the body. A threat. A confession. Clean enough to shove in any prosecutor's lap. 10 minutes later, they left. No Zach. No deal. No money. But I had what I needed. And the next morning, I sent the footage anonymously to the DEA, along with 3 names and addresses tied to Rico's crew. Within 48 hours, they were in handcuffs. Just watched the news that night with her hands covering her mouth. You really did it, she whispered. You actually brought him down. No, I said. We didn't do anything. You just ran. Like you always do. She looked at me then, quiet. Fragile. So what now? Now. That was the real ending, wasn't it? I stood, walked to the door, and opened it wide. Cold air blew in. You're safe, I said. And you're on your own. Her eyes widened. You're leaving. No, I said. You are. She didn't argue. Didn't cry. Just nodded slowly, like deep down she always knew this was how it would end. She walked past me without a word, down the steps, duffel in hand. I watched her disappear into the woods, one step at a time. And for the first time in months, I felt light. Not happy, not whole, but light. Because I didn't lose her. I let her go. And that, after everything, was the strongest thing I'd ever done. So if you're reading this, and you're in love with a lie-wearing perfume, here's what I'll say. Love doesn't lie to your face. Love doesn't leave you a note and vanish into the arms of someone else. And love sure as hell doesn't come crawling back only when it's terrified. Let them go. Because what's waiting for you on the other side of betrayal is you. And you are worth saving.